Welcome to TTMcast, your sports collectibles podcast with Jeff Baker and Drew Pelto. Sponsored by Certified Sports Guarantee. Go to csgcards.com for sports card grading for the win. And by sportscollectorsdaily.com. If it happens in the hobby, you'll find it on sportscollectorsdaily.com. And sponsored by gemrate.com. The latest grading statistic from the 4 major grading companies is just a click away. Visit gemrate.com. It's free. Sponsored by Collects, the free app for scanning and valuing your cards. Use the app to build your collection and buy and sell with other collectors. Turn the hobby into your side hustle. And now, here's our host, Jeff Baker.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to TTMcast, your sports collectibles podcast. We talk TTM. That's through the mail, guys. If you don't know what TTM by now, you might be in the wrong place. We talk cards. We have autographs, collecting, and a whole lot more. My name is Jeff Baker. I'm talking to you from Boston, Massachusetts, and we have an action-packed show today with my friend and co-host from Arlington, Texas, Mr. Drew Pelto. Hey, Drew.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. I'm gonna get you wrapped up. You need some energy this morning, my friend.
Yeah, it's early. I was out last night at a
I know you're
travesty
getting
of a
old.
game.
You're getting old. You can't party on school nights, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm used to being like, all right, Friday night I can go out and do this. No, I got stuff to do Saturday mornings. So yeah, this is not good.
All right. Well, I promise we will have by the end of the show, Drew will be doing somersaults. He'll be jumping up and down. Drew loves talking TTM and autographs and collecting. So, guys, make sure you check out Drew on YouTube. He posts a YouTube video just about every week. He's got a new one up there now. He is at DFW Grapher. That's DFW Grapher. Follow him on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter. No, he will not be doing threads. He will not be doing thread. He says, that's it. I'm doing enough.
Right. I mean, I've every other Twitter killer I've signed up for I've lost interest in it within a week and just never took off. I don't see threads doing much of anything either, but hey, I've been wrong on these things before, so we'll see. But
yeah, you know what? I'm gonna stay away from your picks in football and your investment opportunities.
Probably smart.
All right. Well, I had a good week. My birthday was on the 7th. So what's that? That's a week ago, right?
Yeah,
a week ago. So I got a lot of cards for my birthday. I got a bunch of Series 2 Topps cards, and I got some Heritage. So I opened them all, and except for one, I kept one Series 2 box, and I put them all in number order, and I binded them up yesterday or 2 days ago. So I got it down. I need 16 cards for my Topps Series 1 and 2 set. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to try to finish that off. And then we set our fantasy football draft. I don't know if you guys play fantasy football. I've been playing it for, 30 plus years. And our draft is going to be for the Wednesday after Labor Day. I think it's the 9th or so, or 7th maybe, of September. So I'm starting to study for that. Drew, are you a fantasy football guy?
I haven't played since probably about 2016 or so. It was too hard for me to enjoy watching the game when I have something right on every single game. It seemed like every week. It's just, I can't sit back and enjoy it and just relax and watch it. I'd be sitting there going, oh crap, I should have picked this guy, or oh God, my opponent has this guy. So
yeah, I like it. It gives you a reason to watch Sunday night and Monday night games, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to the Red Sox. The Red Sox and Mets. Mets are in town. I can't remember if I've ever seen the Mets. I haven't seen the Mets in Fenway. I probably saw the Mets. I know I saw the Mets up in Montreal, and I saw the Mets when I was in Arizona, but looking forward to go seeing the Mets. They're a team with a lot of stars, right? But they're not playing very well, so should be a good game. So I'm going to the Red Sox game on July 22nd. I don't think they're going to have anyone signing before the game. They usually only have it on the weekdays, not on the weekend. So I don't think I'll be getting any autographs today, but looking forward. And you actually went to a Rangers game yesterday, which I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I went out to the Guardians and Rangers yesterday. It's kind of funny because you said that the Red Sox only have weekday signers. The Rangers are just the opposite. They only have weekend signers, Friday and Saturday. So kind of weird how that balances out. But yeah, the Cleveland Guardians and the Texas Rangers. Now, Globe Life Park or Globe Life Field, whatever the hell they're calling this travesty of a piece of crap that looks like a freaking grill or warehouse. is not the best place ever for autographs. And I've mentioned this before. I've gone in there, and it used to be that at the old ballpark there, getting 10 autographs in a day was kind of a crappy day. In there now, in the new one, 10 autographs in a day, you should be jumping up and down that you got that many. It is just, they've made it impossible for anybody to get anything at any point, really. I mean, if you're not sitting down in the single and double digit sections, you're not allowed to be down there after batting practice.
Okay.
So as soon as they close the netting and take the stuff off the field, you're out of there. You're gone unless you're sitting down in that section. And I mean, the netting really kind of screws it up anyway. So even if you have something down in that section, you need to get lucky and have somebody who's willing to come around and step into the camera wells and all that kind of stuff to be able to sign for you. So yeah, nobody's really willing to do that very often either. And even next to the camera wells, they now have these field level suites, so you can't get anywhere close like you used to be able to in the old ballpark. So you're already hamstrung from step one. So I got down there during batting practice, and the only 3 players from the Guardians who even looked at us and signed were 3 guys I had nothing for. So it was Xavier Curry, who I had a photo of, but I didn't bring it with me because I don't really have a good way to toss a photo down to a player when you have to, make a 10-foot gap there to toss stuff down to players.
Yeah.
They had Will Brennan, who again I have a photo for, but didn't bring that because I can't really throw that. And who's the third one was Cam Gallagher, the third string catcher, backup catcher, one of the catchers that's not Bo Naylor, basically. And
okay.
Yeah, I had nothing on him either. He at least has cards, though. I mean, all 3 of those guys have cards, but I just didn't have any yet. So yeah, none of them signed at all. It was just super crappy to begin everything. I didn't have anything for their alumni signer because it was Kevin Mensch. I've gotten all my cards done by him. I didn't have anything for the TV and radio guys because, well, I didn't bother bringing anything. And number 2, I think it was Mike Baxick who was doing the pregame show for the Rangers, and I think I'm out of stuff on him by this point too. But yeah, it was absolutely terrible. And then so I'm thinking, all right, well, it's fine. I can stick around and watch the game. Oh God, I wish I hadn't bothered with that. So it was a nice start. Now, have you ever seen the movie Requiem for a Dream? Because if you have, you'll know that the first half of the movie makes you want to do drugs more than anything in the world, and the second half of the movie makes you never want to touch the things. Well, last night's game was just like that, where the first half makes you want to be a Guardians fan because you're up 4-0 early on there, and you're like, oh yeah, they're going to have a great second half here to start. And then you go out and they just completely crap all over themselves, like 12-4 loss, because this bullpen that you've been told is going to be so freaking great from the very start of the season has been absolute shit for the last month. You've got a closer.
You've been on your soapbox for that bullpen since the start of the season.
Oh, I have been, and that's because we have been getting smoke blown up our ass from everybody about how awesome the bullpen is and how great they're going to be all year, and that's going to be the big saving grace that's going to ride us to a division championship and into the playoffs and have a decent run once again, despite being a small market team with no money to spend. Oh no! What do? They get a closer who can't close games anymore. Oh sure, he leads the league in saves. He leads the league in blown saves on top of it. All he gets is a lot of opportunities to just completely blow it if he wants to. Or maybe once in a while he'll pull a Bob Wickman out and put the first 2 guys on and somehow still manage to get out with the save.
Oh, you said Bob Wickman. That name just runs chills through my spine. I used to have him on my fantasy team, and he was, I hated watching him.
We had so many guys like that in this closer role. I mean, Bob Wickman was like that. When he left, it was Joe Borowski took over. He'd load the bases and then managed to get 3 outs somehow. We had Chris Perez doing the same thing. Perez finally crapped out completely, and they got rid of him. And then he tried to have drugs sent to his dog, which is really smart. Oh, God. Yeah. And that doesn't even cover the guys in between. Try to get you from the starter out to your closer. Your closer can't close out games. Your middle relievers are blowing it like they did last night. And it was completely unwatchable now. I was going to go to Saturdays and Sundays games. I've got better stuff to spend my money on than this team and this ballpark. And I'm going full Ken Carman on this at this point, just about. And even that, I'm kind of restrained compared to how he went.
Well, you did get a nice free hat, though.
Yes, I will at least say that. I mean, I hate the Rangers right now, but at least this one's got the retired numbers on it there. It's got
I think it's cool. It's the shape of Texas with all the retired numbers on it. I think that's a cool hat.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I wish it was a team other than the Rangers, but at least, I mean, there's 2 players on there that I actually really like. So it's like, all right, that's kind of cool. So.
All right, well, we have to watch the schedule for next year before the All-Star game. I'm hoping they have a weekend series before the All-Star game, because I'd love to bring Paula out and go to a game, with a Saturday or Sunday game before the All-Star game, and then go do some All-Star stuff. So I'm hoping hoping. Yeah, I would think they would be home. Don't you think they'll be home that weekend?
I'm actually going to pull it up right now because the Rangers have put out their schedule for
they
next
have.
year.
Okay, check it
Yeah,
out,
it just
my friend.
came out yesterday, so we should have info there pretty quick. I'm gonna see they've got it on SI here. We'll see if this actually has the full schedule here or not.
I'm hoping because I'd like to go to the park. I was at the old Arlington, but I haven't been to the new one.
Yeah, it's have you been to the was it just the previous ballpark or was this the really old ballpark?
No, this was the previous ballpark. We
Okay.
we did the tour and I saw a game there.
Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, so they've got an article out here about the schedule being released, and I cannot find the full schedule at all. I'm gonna
all right, that's your homework to see if we have. I'm hoping they're home that weekend.
I would bet they probably will. Here we go. Okay, from Lone Star Ball, the All-Star game. They are on the road the weekend.
Are they really?
Yeah, they actually have two road series in a row to start that off. Let's see here. Open image in new tab. Well, and it says here they've got because the All-Star game is going to be July 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. They're playing at Houston and at the Angels the week before that. The week after the game, they're playing at home against Baltimore.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to hang around, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Because you got to hang around.
Yeah. What's that?
You got to hang around an extra 2 days, right? It would have been better to have the weekend and then go to the game on Saturday or Sunday, then do the futures game on Monday, do the home run derby on Tuesday or the game on Tuesday. We'll see.
It looks like you'd have to wait around an extra 2 days of nothing before doing the Friday Baltimore game.
The Friday game.
That would kind of
we'll
suck.
See. All right. Yeah. It was a good plan.
Yeah, it's a good thought.
It was a good idea. All right, but
I would say if worst came to worst, you could go up to Oklahoma and play the casinos there. You guys have casinos right there in Connecticcut. It's not a voyage for you guys the way it is in Texas.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Well, guys, we have a really fun show for you. We had a lot to talk about. I have author Ryan Sever on. Ryan has written a new book. It's called Cardboard Profit, and we're going to give away a copy of his new book, and we're going to have him on to talk about his book. It's a really interesting book. Drew, I should send you off the copy of the book because I think you'd like it. All right.
Cool. Yeah, definitely.
We have Les Wolff on. Les is going to do an appraisal. We have 3 items that he's appraising, as well as talking about the national and talking about his what's the crossover thing that Les does?
Oh, a crossover grid.
Crossover grid that his son does. So we talk about the crossover grid in my interview with Les. Next week, next Saturday, we're going to have Scott Hunter, former quarterback with a bunch of teams, including the Green Bay Packers. And we're going to have Greg Bates from Sports Collectors Digest, who is a freelance writer. He writes all sorts of stories for Sports Collectors Digest. We talked to him about the hobby, about the national, and he does a lot of work with the Green Bay Packers. So we talk a little Aaron Rodgers with him. It's a really fun interview. That will be next week, guys. Next week, Scott Hunter and Greg Bates. This week, we have Ryan Sever and Les Wolff. Drew, we have all our regular segments, right?
Yes, we do. We've got a Baker's Dozen coming up where we cover everything from the world of everything in collectibles, really. Any news from the previous week. Mentioned Ryan Sever and Les Wolff both coming up here as well with interviews with them. Making the Grade, covering everything in the world of grading. We've got our Stamp of Approval where we give our thumbs up to anything from the previous week. You never know what you're going to get out of us. Could be sports related and it might not be. You never know. We've got the Vern Rapp Minute covering deaths in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, politics. Anybody that you might TTM if they've died, we will try to keep you updated on that. And of course, the main reason why we all are here, our TTM Returns.
Yeah, and we have an extra special guest for making grades, so that's coming as well. Guys, we love to hear from you. We love feedback. If you're interested in being part of the show and being Collector's Corner, we'd love to hear from you. If you want to make sure to copy down this email address. It is the most powerful email address in the hobby. You're going to be able to, if you have it now, you'll be able to win a signed copy, just a regular copy. He might sign it of Scott Sever's new book. The email address is
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
If you didn't know the show, Drew gets a quarter every time he does that. So I am forbidden by law.
It's in my contract.
His wife will sue me. She's already threatened. That is Drew's baby. That's what's it called? Job security, right, Drew?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, whoever keeps me on the air here, and that does it.
All right, Drew. I think we got all our housekeeping in order. Let's do a little Baker's Dozen. All right.
Sounds good.
Baker's Dozen, sponsored by SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Smart collectors turn to Sports Collectors Daily to stay up to date. From new releases to incredible collections hitting the auction block, news from inside the business of sports collectibles, and much more, Sports Collectors Daily has it, all with no subscription cost. SC Daily also delivers a live look at the most watched sports card auctions on eBay for every sport. Sign up to get the headlines in your email for free, or just visit the website whenever you like. With 16,000 stories in the archive going back 16 years, there's always plenty to read at SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Baker's Dozen is a news summary, what's been going on in the hobby. I just want to remind everyone, if you haven't done this yet, you're missing out, right, Drew?
Yes.
How would you like if someone came up to you in the street and said, here's $10, a $10 bill you can spend and buy any card you want. And you know what? If you buy a $3 card, you're still going to have $7 to buy another card. So Collects is giving away a $10 coupon to their marketplace. The marketplace is officially opened last week, I believe. And it's really easy. All you have to do is go in to your app store or Google Play and sign up for Collects. It's COLLX, sign up for Collects. Then just send us your Collects name and your email address, and we will have Collects send you a $10 coupon. It's that easy. And it just shows up right in your profile, right, Drew? It's just sitting there in your money, your profile. And I actually went out and I bought a 1980 Topps Burger King Fred Lynn card for $3, and shipping was included. So I checked on eBay. They was going anywhere from $2 to $5. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I placed my order. Took about, I don't know, 30 seconds. You can go into the marketplace, search out any player you want, any card you want, and they'll come up. And I found another card that I'm going to buy, so I'm holding out hope that I can get it. And I think it's $6, so I might have $1 left, or maybe I can give you the $1 so you can get an $11 card instead of a $10 card.
All right.
But make sure you go on to Collects, go on in Google Play or your app store, sign up for Collects, and you can get a free $10 to use towards their marketplace. And we're going to have Ted Mann from Collects coming on next week on TTMcast 101 on Wednesday to talk about building the marketplace and the trials and tribulations of building the marketplace, and tell you a little about the coupon again. So make sure you all you have to do is send us your name and your Collects name, your Collects username, and Collects will do the rest. All you have to do is email it to us at
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
Very good, Drew. Do we need a drum roll because we have a raffle winner?
I can do one. I've got that ability.
Doing. All right, Drew. We have a raffle winner. Well, you might do the honors.
All right, our raffle winner this week for the Jim Lonborg signed was a small photo,
5x7.
5x7 photo. So Jim Lonborg 5x7 Lonborg photo go to Alan Lewis of North Carolina.
Drew, this one, honestly, I probably got 60 people sign up to win this thing.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. I had so many people. I thank everyone for entering. I wish I had 60 pictures to give away. I was so happy. So thank you guys for entering. And we love to give away stuff. If we get extra stuff to give away to our listeners, things that people donate, we love to give stuff away. So Alan, congratulations. I actually dropped your picture in the mail on yesterday. So you should have it in the next couple of days. Some national news to report. Derek Jeter's going to be at the National. I don't believe he's been at the National for a while, right, Drew?
Yeah, I definitely don't remember him being a signer at all. I mean, there's a few Nationals I've missed here and there, mostly anything not in Cleveland.
I don't remember him being on the list for a few years anyway.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, that's definitely big.
Yeah, well, he's going to be in the Arena Club booth at the National. I don't know if he's going to be signing or not, but maybe I'm going to try. I'll stop by with every other person, try to maybe get his picture or see if we can get an autograph. We'll keep you posted. Also, in the VIP lounge, which is sponsored by Ludex, they are going to have Brian Urlacher is going to be there on Friday signing. So Brian Urlacher from the Chicago Bears will be in the VIP lounge on Friday signing. So that's kind of a neat one. I don't believe there's going to be a charge for it. I can't say that for 100%. It's free, not free, but I think it is. Wouldn't you say so, right? Isn't that what Bill said?
Yeah, typically they didn't mention anything about a charge for it when I saw the email there. And typically anytime that they bring in like a signer at a corporate booth or something, they typically are a free signer. So that's a big one right there for being able to get him for the VIP lounge. And if anybody's going to the National and you get a signed rookie card of his, I would be interested in trading for it. So yeah.
I don't think I have his rookie card. I have a Topps card. I don't know what year it is though.
I don't have his rookie card here at all either. But I mean, it's a 2000s era card there by Topps. So I don't think it would cost that much to get a hold of at all. So if I was going, I'd definitely be picking that up on my way out.
Yeah, hold on. I got it right here. It is. Yeah. No, this is certainly not his rookie card. This is 2010.
Okay.
It's 2000.
Yeah, his rookie card would have been like what, maybe 03 or thereabouts, somewhere around there.
Can you see it?
Yep.
2010. Yeah. I was going through cards the other day and I saw it and I said, oh, maybe his first season was 2006.
Okay, I was off a little bit. So
right around there. Maybe I'll look and see if I can pick it up beforehand, but very cool. All right, guys, we have a lot of new releases. The company, all the manufacturers are getting ready for the National with some new releases this week.
Mm-hmm. We've got a Panini with some baseball. Their first off the line 2023 Prism baseball is available. You get 12 packs of 12 cards in each box. 3 autographs out of that box as well. That's going to run you $350. So good to see that Prism prices coming back to earth a little bit.
Yeah, and I think Panini cannot have current players anymore. I think they lost that with the Players Association. So I don't think they can have current players. They can have guys that are in the minors and they can have veterans, but I don't think they can produce cards of current players. Is that correct?
If they have an individual contract with the player, then they can do something of them. So that goes for prospects, past players, and current players if they have an individual contract with them, but they don't have the full protection of the Players Association the way they did up until last year.
Well, we have a soccer release. It's first off the line 2022-23 Panini Impeccable Soccer. You get 4 autos, 1 auto plus 1 auto memorabilia. There's 1 pack of 8 cards. This is a high-end product, guys. $3,000. We're talking about it with Clemente Lise last week. It's a nice product. It's a really good looking product. But if you're into soccer, Impeccable Soccer first off the line, $3,000. I bet when we don't have the first off the line, I bet it's about $700-800, right?
Yeah, it'll come down a bit for sure. That's typically that first off the line has some real nice bonuses inside it. So
yeah,
that's the price increase right there.
And then we have your baby coming out.
Yes, Panini Mosaic Draft Picks College Football will be coming out as well. Get 2 packs, 15 cards. There's 2 autographs in there though, so pretty good stuff. And that Mosaic product has always been really popular here ever since the Panini's come up with it. That's going to run you about $400 right there. But I mean, that's going to be your top draft picks from this year that are all in that product.
And this is kind of a raffle one, right? This is a raffle ticket one or a lottery ticket one. 2022 Topps MLS Resistance. It's a hobby box. Is going for $200. You get 1 encased auto and 1 encased foil auto. If you're into the MLS when Messi is there next year, I think that product will sell a lot, don't you?
That's going to explode next year. I mean, Messi's popular everywhere. Being Argentinian, he's popular in South America. Having played for Barcelona and PSG, he's popular in Europe. And put him into MLS, and he's going to be hugely popular in the US too.
Do you guys have an MLS team? Does Dallas have an MLS team?
Yeah, we've got FC Dallas, and we actually are also home to the National Soccer Hall of Fame in Frisco. So that's we've got a very big soccer presence here.
You're going to go see Messi next year?
I guarantee I will not be able to get a ticket for it because I know, even when David Beckham came through with LA Galaxy, those ones were crazy sold out.
Yeah, we met somebody at the Red Sox game a couple weeks ago that has season tickets for the Revolution. Yep. So I've already got the bug in her ear, and I want to go see Messi one time because I think they come in a couple times. I don't think it's just a one-time thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know the MLS schedule too much, but I mean it's not a really huge league at all. So I think everybody's got to come in at least probably once to twice. So
yeah, I would think so. Twice. And we also Topps has a really cool release this week.
Topps Tribute has hit the shelves. 6 packs, 3 cards per pack. You're gonna get 6 hits in that box though, so some pretty jam-packed box right there. 3 autos and 3 relics in among all of that. That's the good news. The bad news: $500. A little steep on the price there, but for that kind of stuff that's gonna be coming out of there, that sounds pretty good actually.
I've been picking up a lot of old Topps Tribute, Red Sox stuff for pretty cheap money, under $10.
Yeah, I'm sure the big hits are going to sell for big money, but you might be able to grab some of the lower end stuff there on a little bit cheaper here in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. All right, well, that wraps up our new releases, but we have a lot more news to tell you. Some auction news. The T206 Cronus Wagner is coming to auction this fall under Mile High Card Company. In October of 2022, a PSA 1.5 was sold by Golden Auctions for $3.7 million. This one is a graded, authentic, and restored. I guess they tried to fix up some creases in it, so it is an authentic card, but it's restored. So I'm sure it's going to go in that probably $1 million to $2 million. Would you think, Drew?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a 7-figure card. I don't think it's gonna hit that 3.7 that the that PSA 1.5 sold for, but I could see it possibly topping 2 though.
Yeah, but anytime a T206 comes into the marketplace, it's news.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Some news from Fanatics, Drew.
Yeah, we've got Fanatics is now getting into show business. Aside from already getting their grubby meat hooks on everything with apparel and cards, they're now getting into doing shows. They're going to open a new division to create a Comic-Con type shows starting next year. Going to be working with IMG to do that. No word on how that might impact the national or anything, but I'm sure that everybody's kind of looking at this going, oh crap, this could be a problem here, but we'll see. I mean, if they can keep separate from the national and keep the national as a big show, then all right, maybe they can coexist side by side there. But at the same time, I'm sitting here looking at going, oh boy, this might not be good.
I hope it doesn't affect the national, because the national is just so much fun, and you and I love going, and I know a lot of collectors out there love going. And if you haven't been to a national, I recommend putting on your calendar. It's worth the 4 or 5 days of being there and seeing all the guys signing and bumping into all people that you know, and meeting celebrities from the hobby. It's really a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a serious collector at all, you need to go to at least one of them, and might as well do it now before Fanatics possibly goes horning in on their territory here. So yeah, if you're not able to get to Chicago this year, hey, get to Cleveland next year, get to Chicago in 2 years, get on some up.
Yeah, it gives you a reason to go to Cleveland and try out all those good restaurants.
Exactly. That's what I've been telling people. I mean, there's Melt, there's everything Michael Simon does. You can swing into town easily for all those kind of places there.
Yeah,
along with the show.
Stay away from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's a disappointment.
It's worth seeing once. If you've seen it once, you don't need to go again, though. Yeah.
My daughter and wife went, and they were like, I can't believe we went to see that.
Yeah, it's underwhelming a bit.
And it's not like the Baseball Hall of Fame. Baseball Hall of Fame, I could just set up a tent and live there.
Oh yeah, I could. I mean, you want to give me a trip there once a year? I am totally on it. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame I've been to twice already, and the last time was 20 years ago, and I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I love the Baseball Hall of Fame. I love Cooperstown. If you haven't been, side note, right? Let's sidetrack a little, off the rail a little. If you haven't been to Cooperstown, I recommend going, especially in the springtime when it's not 1,000,000 degrees out. I follow the Hall of Fame, and their crowds are becoming record crowds in terms of people going to the hall. They're getting back to pre-pandemic numbers, so it's great to see a lot of people are going. All right, Drew, I'm going to give you a name. Moonlight Graham.
Oh, nice. There we go.
Moonlight Graham. He played 1 inning for the San Francisco Giants, the New York Giants. Played in the field, never got at bat, and then he quit and became a doctor. And this is Field of Dreams, right?
Yeah.
Field of Dreams. He was featured in his 1951 Chisholm, Minnesota yearbook, because he was a doctor at the high school. Excuse me. Sold for an auction for $8,000. So there's not a lot of autographs of Moonlight Graham out there. So not a bad deal, $8,000 for his autograph.
Yeah, that's pretty decent right there. I mean, there's a lot of the kind of semi-unknowns out there whose autographs go for big money. You get a guy like Clancy Smyers, for example.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, Moonlight Graham, I mean, that's not just a baseball reference, it's a pop culture reference right in there as well.
Very cool. Well, how about this one? PWCC auction result?
Yes, they had the 1986 Patrick Waugh, a PSA 10. That is his rookie card. It has a PSA 10 population of only 90 out there. Card number 53 in that set. $9,000 on that, which, I mean, for being Patrick Waugh's rookie card, it's like, all right, that makes sense. But for a pop 90, that's like, wow, that's a surprisingly high amount there. But at the same time, more affordable than some of the guys like, Gretzky and Lemieux out there for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And another auction news, they're all over the place. They're coming out of the woodwork, Drew. SGC number rated 9, 1952 Mickey Mantle will be coming to auction this summer on Heritage Auction, HA.com. They have a summer platinum night auction. Bidding opens July 28th. So start getting out all your empties, right? Save all those empties and go find everyone that owes you money, and you can put a bid on a 1952 SGC 9 Mickey Mantle. What do you think that's going to go for?
Oh man, an SGC 9, that's
$8 million.
I mean, you're talking
$7 million, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking at least 5 million and probably closer to 7 or 8 or so. That's gonna be
the 9.5 is the one that went for 12 million. So
yeah,
I would think at least 6, maybe, huh?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna top 10 at all, but yeah, somewhere between. I think you're right there with the 6 to 8 range or so.
Yeah, well, we'll keep you posted as soon as it goes. The bidding's up there, so if you want to get your bids in, you'll have a chance. Maybe Drew, maybe you and I can pool our money, and I can own it on the even number days, and you can have it on the odd number days.
Hey, sounds good to me. I'll take that.
Jen, he's bidding on a $7 million card.
I've got my headphones. Nobody can hear that. We've got a more.
Good.
Okay, I'll go for it. So we've got more from the Boa Constrictor. That's Fanatics squeezing another one out here. They have signed Jackson Holiday to an exclusive autograph deal. Holiday just promoted to AA this week. Of course, he was the #1 pick. Last year's draft?
Last year, yeah.
So yeah, rapidly making the rise through there. Matt Holiday's son going through the system, and he's been a very good autograph signer at games, I've heard, especially compared to anybody else that's been, #1 pick or even top 5 pick recently. But Fanatics has gotten him now for an exclusive autograph deal. So if you haven't gotten him at a ball game, it might be a little bit tougher now.
Yeah, you shut out of luck, right?
Yeah.
Unless you do it under the cover of darkness or something.
Yeah, exactly. Find him one-on-one somewhere with no cameras around and sign a quick one for you.
Well, that wraps up Baker's Dozen for the week. We had a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of news going on in the hobby. Everyone's getting ready for the National, and what are we, a week away now, right, Joe? 2 weeks away?
Yeah, about maybe a week and a half, weeks, something like that.
Still looking forward to it. Well, next up, we have Collector's Corner.
And now it's time for Collector's Corner. Let's hear from our collector this week.
This segment is sponsored by Collects, the free app for scanning and valuing your cards. Check out the new Collects marketplace to sell and buy cards. Turn the hobby into your side hustle today. So I had the opportunity to speak with Ryan Sever. Ryan is a author of a book called Cardboard Profit. It kind of gives you a framework of how to sell cards, make money on selling cards. And it's a good book. It's a pretty quick read. I think I read it in like 2 or 3 days. And I talked to Ryan about how he came up with the idea of writing the book, some of the trials and tribulations, the roadblocks he hit, and we talk a lot about that. So you can follow Ryan at Cardboard Profit on social media. He is also at cardboardprofit.com, and we're going to give away a copy of his book, and I'll try to have him sign it. I can't say that for 100% sure, but we're going to give away a copy of his book. So if you want to register to win a copy of his book, just send us your name and your mailing address to
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
And we'll pick the winner of that next week. So please enjoy my interview with Ryan Sever from Cardboard Profit. All right, guys, I'd like to welcome author and entrepreneur. His name is Ryan Sever. He has a brand new book out. It's called Cardboard Profit. He is on Facebook at Cardboard Profit as well as Instagram on Cardboard Profit. And we'll talk to Ryan about selling cards and what inspired him to write the book. And his book is Cardboard Profit, the strategic playbook for making money with sports cards. Welcome, Ryan.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
So did you ever think you'd consider yourself an author, right? You were always an entrepreneur. Now you get to put author in your bio.
Yeah, it's something new. It's something that I've thought about for a long time. Been slinging cards for well over a decade now and collecting for the better part of 30 years. So never really thought it would come to fruition, though. And one day just decided to sit down and just start writing and see what happened. And it turned into a book. So here we are.
Was it an easy book for you to write, or did you have to really take things out and put things in and kind of play it by ear as you were writing it?
You know, the funny part is the writing was actually the easiest part. And the book is something 150, 200 pages or so. it was everything outside of the writing that comes with publishing. So figuring out the cover art and, working with a graphic designer on the inside of the book to make sure it was formatted correctly to fit Amazon's specifications so that the words weren't running into the gutter in the middle of the pages and everything. So a lot of stuff to learn. I'm new to this, but it was a lot of fun. Definitely a fun undertaking.
And how long did it take you to write? Because, I know you have 30 years of experience behind you, but how long did it take you to write the book?
Yeah, so I actually started a website about a year and a half ago now, cardboardprofit.com. And I set out to, so just to back up, I've talked to people constantly about how to make money with cards. What's your strategy? I'm always trying to learn from other people. I wouldn't say that I'm know everything, not by any means. There's always something to learn. And the fun part about this market is there are lots of different approaches that can work. So constantly talking with people over the years about their strategies. And I thought to myself, like, I've never actually documented any of this. And I say the same things over and over to people as, you have a buddy that joins or someone asks you online, how do you do this or that? And I decided, like, let me just try to put this in writing so that I can just say, here's the basics, but if you want my full take on it, like, here's my website, go read about it. And I figured I don't have a following. I'm not a big deal. I'm not special in any way, really, other than, I know cards and how to make money with them. But I figured if I just focused on putting good content out there, I could figure out how to get it out there into the world and package it the right way after the fact as more of a secondary focus. So providing value was kind of the first thought here. So I started writing a little bit, getting back to your question here, and had a few articles up, had no idea how to promote it. Kind of didn't really want to. Like the idea of being a sports card world celebrity is not appealing to me. But I'm kind of an introvert in that way, but did want to share the knowledge as best as I could, and came to find out that there were some books on Amazon that were actually selling more copies than I expected to see. And once I saw, like, people were actually putting books out there and, having some success moving them, I took the content that I had on the website and basically repackaged it and wrote the rest of the book in 2-3 weeks. So it was a really fast process once I committed to it. It was just sitting down and pounding it out, and it was so much fun. And I think that that's part of what gives me confidence that I did the right thing to write the book. Is it was so easy to write. It was there. It was just a matter of, setting your mind to it and sitting down and getting started. I think the starting point was the hardest part.
As you say, you didn't have any industry cred, let's say, in terms of a name like a Jeff Wilson or some of these other guys that are out there. Has it been difficult for you to establish your credibility to the marketplace and to the hobby?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think it would probably be a lot easier if I had 40,000 Instagram followers or something like that. I think I'm up to a whopping 123 as of this morning. So, we're getting there slowly but surely. But you know what? I think that at the end of the day, I've had a lot of success in this market, and I'm not claiming to be the utmost expert. I don't want to be that person. I just want to provide a perspective of here's what's worked for me. And if I can help empower and educate someone out there and just give them a tip that helps accelerate their card venture in some way, great, mission accomplished. And certainly, I think one of the things that surprised me is how many people I talk to in my life, just friends and family and whatever, that they're not card people, but they know someone who is. They know their 14-year-old nephew's trying to get into it and they don't know where to start. So they bought him my book and now they have a little bit of guidance from just someone that's been around the block a little bit longer. So that's been probably the coolest part, is not necessarily putting too much pressure on myself to have a massive following, because that stuff takes time. I will say I'm trying to grow it a little bit and, get the word out a little bit more. And here's a wildly shameless plug. If you're on Instagram, follow at Cardboard Profit. I'm trying to put out at least one, helpful, thought-provoking, piece of commentary or tip around sports cards every single day, and just posting with some consistency to see if I can help a few people out.
I think, the best word that you said was guidance. I think the book certainly offers guidance specifically to the new collector or somebody that's only been collecting for a year or two. I think I liken it to bowling, where when you're a kid and you went bowling and you had the gutter things on the alley to keep
The
ball
bumpers,
from going-
yeah.
the bumpers from keeping it going into the gutter. I think that's what your book does in terms of, as a collector, I've been collecting for 30, 40 years like you, but I never considered, if I was going to sell, well, here's all the steps that you got to consider when you're selling. And it would kind of keep me on track. And I think that's what the book does. Is that kind of your take as well?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. And I was trying to nail down, okay, who is my actual target market? Is this valuable for someone that has equal or more experience than I do? Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe, because there are different perspectives and maybe people approach things differently, and they can read the book and say, okay, yeah, I've been doing this for 40 years and I know more than Ryan does. Sure, there's people out there that do, but I had never thought about this specific topic in this way. So maybe I can apply that to my business and accelerate my growth. I think for the most part, it's geared toward the beginner and intermediate crowd who maybe they're card enthusiasts, but they just don't necessarily have the experience. Frankly, they probably haven't made the number of mistakes that I have over the years and had the chance to learn from them. So it's kind of like, how can you take the better part of 2 decades of doing this as a business and compress that level of experience and the mistakes and all of that stuff, the learnings from that time period, into an easily digestible book that someone can pick up and read in a few days. So I think that's kind of the overarching goal, is how can we basically shorten the learning curve for those folks that are interested in this space.
I was going to ask you, what do you think the biggest mistake novice investors make, and what is the maybe the preconceived notion of investing in sports cards that's not really true?
Let's see. That's a good question. I think probably my favorite piece of advice is understanding opportunity cost, and understanding that I think a lot of people make the mistake of getting super tied to, here's what I paid for this item. I'm sorry, I don't know who needs to hear this, but someone does. Nobody cares what you paid. It does not impact the future value whatsoever. And I'll caveat, okay, if you've got like a rare one of one or something where it's the only one and people don't have another option, fine, then what you paid matters because you can dictate the price. But otherwise, don't worry so much about what you paid. Worry about where is the card's value going moving forward. So sometimes that means, as painful as it might be, the right move can be to sell for a small loss and move on to something that's going to make you way more money moving forward. Things change, and we've got to adjust our strategy accordingly as we, maybe have a bigger sample size of performance for a certain player to better judge who they are and who they are not. People do crazy, dumb stuff off the field too that certainly can impact values in a negative way. And it's like, do you want to hold on and stay on that sinking ship? Or, maybe it's time to just cut bait and take the loss, but then put that money into something that can make you way more money instead of holding on, hoping for a miracle that values get back to where they are. And I think coming out of the pandemic, there's a lot of that going on right now. Still 2 years later, after the market kind of boomed and, sort of started to crash a little bit, people are still holding out for values that are simply not coming back. And the best move is going to be, okay, if that value is not coming back, what are you waiting for? Is that really the best card to have your money tied up in? Or is there something else out there that you do better on if you just, let go of your ego and stopped worrying about winning on every single card and made the move that's going to help you make the most money moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's really hard to take emotion and ego out of the equation of making money, because
Definitely.
We all think we're experts, and that we know that the next Aaron Judge is going to be Jason Dominguez, but Jason Dominguez is in the Mendoza line right now, and he can't hit over 200. So I think taking the emotion and the ego out of the equation is probably the most difficult thing, a big hurdle that the investor has to overcome, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. And that's where I try to look at things as objectively as possible. And that's the hard part, because it's not stocks that we're trading here. It's athletes that we're looking at. I like baseball cards. They're fun. They look cool. I want to put them on display in my office. I've got a pile of them on my desk right next to me that I like to look at. I like players. I like to get attached to them and follow their stats and their box scores every single day and watch them on TV. So it's not that it's hard to completely remove the emotion But sometimes I think to be as effective as possible, if you look at this objectively as how do I maximize my cardboard profit, if you will,
right. Is Warren Buffett got emotion in his investing strategy when he's investing in Apple or some new company or IBM or whatever? Probably not, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So how can you remove as much of that as possible and just worry about making the right decision moving forward?
One of the things that I really enjoyed was the chapter about the mountain, where a player has peaks and valleys, ups and downs, and you were very good about talking about there's always a time to get in and out of a player. Just because you're in the player at the beginning and he's very hot and the hype is big, well, then you can unload his cards for a profit, but then jump back in if he all of a sudden becomes not a popular player. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was probably one. He came up and there was a huge hype for him, and then for a year or two it was down, and then now he's winning the home run derby, and I'm sure his cards are going to swing back up.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part is nobody knows the future. Like, we don't know, are we at the top of the mountain or is it going to keep on going? And that's the fun part, is trying to predict based on all available evidence, all performance, the reports about the guy's character and what you see on TV, what is this guy's most likely future going to be? And does he have what it takes to, really accelerate and exceed expectations to push his cards higher than they are today? And really the point of the analogy there, the mountain, is like, you don't have to be in on the ground floor. Like, if you get in halfway up the mountain, you still got the other half to profit on, so don't worry so much about where cards were yesterday. Worry more about where they're going tomorrow is kind of the overarching theme there.
One of the things that you really touched on through the whole book is prospecting, and that's a big thing that everyone loves, to find the next diamond in the rough, right? De La Cruz from Cincinnati is the hot guy this week, and who's going to be is Marcelo Meyer going to be the guy next week, and you just don't know. So there's a lot of risk in prospecting, but you have to be careful when you prospect as well, right?
Yeah, I think the longer you hold after a player hits the major leagues, if we're talking baseball anyway, the riskier it becomes. Because basically values are going to be the most volatile. They can change up and down quickly. That's what I mean by volatility. With the smaller sample size of performance, like the bigger the sample size, the more we know about the player, the more people just get it into their minds. Okay, this is who this guy is. And then it's a lot harder for that player they would basically have to exceed everyone's expectations of them for card values to increase from there. And so if we're dealing with the small sample size, okay, I might strike out 4 times in my major league debut, but if I go out tomorrow and hit 2 home runs, I'm doing all right? Like, you got 2 home runs in 2 games. But if it takes me 2 weeks to hit 2 home runs, that's a little bit different of a picture, where people aren't going to be quite as excited. It's a bigger sample size, and I've only got 2 home runs. It kind of goes with the territory of debuts. You got to be ready to sell while the iron's hot, unless you truly believe that the player can back it up with performance. So there's some nuance there, because different players, of course, are going to debut at different values, and sometimes they're are better values than others. Even really good prospects and really good players can still be bad value when you look at their cards if they're overinflated for one reason or another.
Yeah, and there's not much logic to it. When you look in football, if you look at a guy like Justin Herbert, who hasn't really done anything on the field, he hasn't shown that he is a top 5 quarterback, and yet he is still one of the hottest guys to collect in the NFL. And and conversely, Joe Burrows has made a couple of he made the Super Bowl, and he's done some other things, and he's not as hot as a Justin Herbert. So it's kind of there's no logic to it sometimes, because it is emotional to a point.
Yeah, when I was listening to your last episode of the show and heard you make this comparison too of Herbert to Burrow, and I couldn't agree more with you. I personally like Burrow a lot better, but I understand at least why people like Herbert, because he seems like he's one of those up and coming rising stars. People love to speculate, and it's all about, okay, is this the year that he makes the jump? Can he make the leap this year? And that's, I think, what people are buying into right now. It's a pretty exciting time for for NFL quarterbacks, because there's a lot of speculation happening, and there's a pretty solid young crop of talent in that, if you think about the 10, 12, 15 guys that people are really focused on in the card market right now.
And in terms of investment, I think people have to, and you mentioned this in the book, we're talking about the cardboard profit, the strategic playbook for making money with sports cards. This is by our friend Ryan Sever, who we're speaking with today. And one of the things that people, when you're investing, you have to consider fees like grading fees, eBay fees, taxes, shipping fees, all this other stuff that can certainly eat away at profit. And I don't think the buyers or the sellers really think about that.
Yeah, sometimes you hear people, buy something for $100 and sell it for $110, and they're like, "Hey, I made $10." No, you didn't. You just lost 10, right? Because you got to pay all those fees, and you paid tax on the purchase when you made it. If you think about it this way, if you buy a card on eBay with the intent to resell it on eBay, unless you're in Oregon or wherever they don't have sales tax, you're basically down 20% when you make that purchase. Like, you have to exceed 20% profit to actually profit on the card, because there's roughly 13% of fees for eBay, and somewhere around 6, 7, 8, 10%, whatever your state charges for sales tax. So you got to take those things into consideration and make sure that you're buying into something that offers more upside than that.
Do you prefer selling online to eBay or PWCC, which is an auction site, or buysportscards.com, as opposed to setting up at a local show and paying the $35, $50, whatever it is for the local show? Where do you think it's more cost effective, and where is there a better chance of having success, do you think, at selling direct or selling online?
Yeah, I think it really, when you look at shows, and this is timely with the national coming up in a few weeks here, I think it really comes back to who's your audience going to be, who's going to walk in the door, how big is the show going to be, what kind of other stuff is going to be there with the folks that are setting up at other tables, and how much does it cost? Because it's similar, right? Like, eBay's going to charge their fees, the show's going to charge you a fee for your table. The national is not cheap to grab some table space by any means, so you got to take all that into consideration. Personally, I'm a big fan of online, and I really like Facebook. I'm pretty active in some of the groups on there, but there are some very big, very active Facebook groups that you can buy and sell, and you're only paying PayPal fees there, since you're kind of off of eBay, but you can still reach a very large audience. I think that's the biggest draw of eBay, is the audience is so big. But if you can get onto one of those bigger groups that's got a lot of members constantly checking and looking for stuff, you can be pretty successful, depending on what your inventory is, of course. But if you've got stuff that people are looking for, it's a good way to save on fees.
You talk about this in the book, and I like to just expand on it. As opposed to, there's kind of two ways you can go, right? You can go and buy 20 base cards of a guy, or you can try to buy one short print zebra patch, whatever card of the guy. You know what I mean? Which would you recommend for someone that's trying to enter into selling cards and is very inexperienced?
Yeah, well, I think before you even look at that, consider your budget and stay within your budget. That's the biggest rule here. When I first started, I had no money at all. I was working on a college budget of virtually nothing. It was kind of like, do you want to buy this card and hope you can flip it, or do you want to buy yourself dinner tonight? There were some days that were tough early on, but as I was starting to build my venture. But I think my strategy has changed over the years as I've kind of built up my card inventory, and the value of it has shifted. I like to focus, when I'm looking at longer term plays, I want the rarest thing that I can afford to buy. I want to put that away, something that people don't get to see. And I don't want to list it either until I think it's time to sell it, because I think that there's, I'll call it like fatigue almost from being overly exposed. People get used to really cool cards that they shouldn't be allowed to get used to unless they own it. And so when you list something and you put it at this price where it's basically like a museum or something, no one can ever touch the price because it's so unrealistic. People are just looking at that card every single day, getting bored by it. When someone has a big performance, let's go back to Joe Burrow. Let's say he throws for 5 touchdowns, and then you drop the zebra, crazy patch thing onto eBay. All of a sudden, there's like this massive card that hits the market and people are already excited about Burrow, and this is the first time that they've maybe seen one for a long time, they're going to be a lot more likely to try to jump on that before someone else does versus a card that's been sitting there. So back to your original question though, yeah, rarity for the long haul. If you're looking at flipping, especially if you're newer or have a lower budget, big fan of buying lower end stuff. Base cards are okay. I try to avoid base, even getting into like a base refractor or a silver prism or something that's got a little bit of rarity to it.
Yeah.
And doing some grading is always a good way to kind of build a profit margin for yourself. So that's kind of what I'd look at if you're working on a smaller budget, like I was when I was first getting going.
Question for you: rookie cards or first Bowman cards? Is there an opportunity there that first Bowman cards are undervalued?
Yeah, I think for baseball specifically, let's just say we're going to talk about baseball since it's different for football and basketball, but it's hard to say because the market has shifted quite a few times over the years. When I was first getting started, it was, you want the Bowman Chrome, first Bowman Chrome card, and they didn't have autos for every single player. It was probably 2008 or so when they started making last year's Bowman Chrome draft class had a non-auto card, and they put all the autos into 2008 Bowman. So those players, for the first time, it was like, okay, do I go for the non-auto because it was first, or do I go for the auto because it's theoretically a better card, right? And so these days it's shifted to where that's just become the norm, and so people always go for the autos. Lately, people have been, I think it's really since Mike Trout kind of drove the Topps update and paper Topps revolution, if you will, where people are looking at those cards, the RC logo, Topps card for a lot of the star players, and saying that this is the best way to go. It's better than the first Bowman because it's got the RC logo on it. And now Topps Chrome is kind of coming back now that we're out of the craziness of the pandemic where people were buying, base cards of not good players for a lot of money, kind of transcending logic there for a bit. But so it's really shifted. I personally am a fan of Topps Chrome. I love that product for rookie cards. You've got autos, you've got non-autos, so whatever fits your budget and your non-auto refractors and parallels and stuff. So there's something for everyone, I think, in that product. But that's the way I'm kind of leaning right now myself.
What's your thoughts on high-end products, Panini and Topps, the Topps triple threads or the museums or some of these high-end products that they put the rookie logo on it, and all of a sudden, Wander Franco has 75 rookie cards. As a collector and as a seller, how do you know which direction to zig when everyone else is zagging, or how, where would you put your money and your attention to on something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I think as a collector, I think it's great because when you're collecting, it's up to you what you want to put value on and what you like the most and what appeals to you and your collecting style the most. So you have tons of options that all are considered a rookie card. If rookie cards are your thing, pick which brand you like the best and go buy it and be happy. If you're looking at selling it in the future, it really comes back to sticking with the top, say, 3 to 5 brands. The further away from those you go, usually you're sacrificing some liquidity. So it's going to be harder for you to sell that card in the future, even if the player is rising like crazy or whatever. Usually people are looking at Bowman Chrome, Topps Chrome, like that's, and autos or non-autos, whatever. And then paper Topps base are usually the first 3 places I would look if you're looking at investing in something. And again, you have options within those products. You want autos versus non-autos, paper base versus parallels versus Chrome base. It's up to you how you approach it.
What's your thought on single cards versus unopened hobby boxes or blaster boxes as an investment in the future? Is it are you willing to purchase hobby boxes and blaster boxes and hold on to them for 5 years or whatever before they reach some type of value, or is it easier just to go buy and get the Wander Franco and De La Cruz single cards and work from there?
Well, I have to be honest, Jeff, you're asking the wrong person because I have no discipline, and those hobby boxes would last in my closet for about 5 minutes before I was ripping into them. So unopened wax has not been a part of my strategy for that reason and that reason alone. But I do see the merits in it, because there are some classes that have so many good players that can really boost the value of the set. And so you're kind of removing some of the guesswork, like, do I buy Burrow or, one of the other quarterbacks from that year? Because there have been some really strong products that have multiple players that are on the kind of rising star or even Hall of Fame trajectory that you can go back and look at. I have a buddy who's buying 2013 Topps Chrome hobby boxes because Nolan Arenado's in that, Manny Machado's in that. There's some other good players, and he's looking at it like, these are hard to find. They're 10 years old. They're still $500-$600 and rising somehow. And there are even a lot of redemptions for the autos in that product. But there is some merit to that when you can have multiple players that are all contributing toward pushing the value north. So, but anyway, for me, I'm a singles guy because I cannot keep wax sealed. It's just too much fun to open.
What's your thoughts from an investment standpoint and to make money is staying away from the big three sports and going towards, the other sports, the hockey and wrestling and I don't know, MMA and every tennis and soccer, everyone, there's cards for just about every sport. What's your thought going towards these lesser known sports and perhaps having less competition as a seller?
Yeah, well, I think it comes back to what are your passions and interests and where does your sports knowledge lie? Because I'll give you an example. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, kind of a nerd in that way, but Magic the Gathering had that crazy set where there was that like $2 million bounty on the one ring card. I bought a box of that because I like Lord of the Rings. I know nothing about Magic, but the artwork looked really awesome. I just wanted to open a box just as not for a money-making thing, but unless I pulled the one ring card, and I'd take $2 million, I suppose. That wouldn't hurt. But but I'm opening the packs and I'm enjoying every moment of it because I know the characters and the artwork's awesome.
Yep.
I don't know anything about what I'm pulling though. So I'm looking up all these cards like, okay, this one's worth $4. This one's worth nothing. Oh, wow, this one's worth 30. I would have had no clue. And so it kind of comes back to, do you know hockey really well? Do you know the players to look for? Buy hockey. Great. Do you know soccer really well? Are you interested in following soccer? If you were to pull a card of a player that you want to hold on to, would you have the interest to actually follow their season and their stats throughout the year and their card market and know when it's time to sell? So that's kind of what I'd fall back on. There's not necessarily a right or wrong answer there. It just comes back to where does your knowledge lie and what do you want to put your time toward?
What software do you use to manage your inventory and manage your business? And how many hours a week do you put into to working as a card investor? I'll say.
Yeah, that's Microsoft Excel. We'll keep it simple there. I just have a master spreadsheet that shows here's what I paid, here's what I sold it for. I will give one piece of advice that I have found to be really helpful is to, you've got the basics on there of what you paid, what you sold it for, all your fees, your shipping costs, all that stuff. If you add a column to the end of it and just call it like estimated sale value or estimated current value, that way you can look at what do I think I can realistically get for this card right now? And sometimes that helps you take a little bit more objective look at here's what I paid, but here's what it's really worth. So getting back to what we talked about, you can be a little bit more realistic about its current value and whether or not it's time to move on. But that's what I use for tracking. Just keep it as simple as possible, but you do want to have those records. If you make enough money, it's a good problem to have to pay taxes because it means you did something right throughout the year. Highly recommend working with an accountant. It's going to save you a headache in the end of the day. But from a time standpoint, I don't know. I love this stuff and it's like ingrained in who I am. So I've got my saved eBay searches. I'm constantly, before bed, when I wake up in the morning, break in the day, I've got a day job, of course. So in between meetings or at lunchtime, got to check my save searches, see if there's anything that I need to go after. I don't know. Over the years, I tried to quantify this for the book because there have been two different stretches where I did cards as my full-time income. And then since then, it's been, I would say, multiple hours per day, just because I enjoy it in some capacity, following the card market, reading online, the chatter, who are people chasing, what are they saying about different players. It helps if you enjoy it. That's where the fun is. This shouldn't feel like a like a work. Like it should feel like fun, a hobby. That's what it is. So, and if you can make a little money along the way, then great, more power to you.
What do you use to determine current value when you list your card on eBay or any other site? Do you try to list it below current value, at current value, a little above current value? Because I know you're more into buy now than auction, right?
Yeah, there's a time and place for all of the different listing formats, if you ask me. But auction to me is if you need to you just want to get money out of something and you want it now, auction it off. You're going to get paid. And there's some really good consigners if you don't want to do the work that don't charge that that high of fees either. For buy it now pricing, it comes back to how quickly do you want to move the card. If you're the lowest price, you're gonna likely sell it faster than if you're the highest price, of course. So use that kind of at your discretion. But if I've got something that's a little bit rare, yeah, I might go a little bit above market and see if I can get someone to stretch a little bit. If it's one of the only ones that's listed, sometimes you can get people to go a little bit higher. But for the most part, I don't list stuff unless I feel pretty confident that I'm okay at getting market value for it. Otherwise, I go back to my what I said about overexposing stuff, especially if you've got rare cards. You don't want them to just go up and sit, because then people get used to them and they're not as excited about paying you what you want for them. So,
all right, story time. Can you share a story with us that's not in the book of a player that you were really into early on and made a good chunk of change off of? Is there a player that someone comes up to bat and it's, I don't know, Bryce Harper, and you knew Bryce Harper when he was in high school and he was the guy for you? Do you have a guy like that?
Man, there are a lot of them. I'll go with I collect Nolan Arenado, so I want to say him because he's a guy that I bought into really early and then sold out of. And then I was like, wait a second, this guy's awesome once he was like a year or two into the majors, and started rebuying because he was so cheap compared to everyone else. And now I have a big Nolan Arenado collection. But I'll go with Jock Peterson. So came up in the Dodgers organization. Yep. He was like outperforming everybody in the minor leagues. He was doing it all. He was stealing bases. He was hitting like 330 or something. He was hitting for power. So you look like a legit, 2020 guy in the minors, which you can project that to the majors to be, more than that, because they play a lot more games. And his cards were just not selling for anything. So he was the first player, if I remember correctly, he was the first player I ever made $1,000 of pure profit on, was his Bowman Chrome autographs. Okay. From, I'm trying to remember what year that would have even been, 2009 or 2010. I think he was somewhere around there. 2012, I think, is what he is actually, now that I think about it. But I had a whole pile of that guy. That was fun, getting into someone that it took time, but people do come around. Like, it's hard for someone to be that good for that long and not get recognized eventually. And I actually wrote about this on my Instagram this morning, coming out of the home run derby. Julio Rodriguez puts up that massive round one and then gets eliminated in the next round. Doesn't matter. The damage has been done for his cards. They're on the rise now because people saw the big round one. It kind of comes back to the player doesn't necessarily have to win it all. They don't have to be Babe Ruth. They don't even have to be good sometimes. And Jock Peterson, solid baseball player, right? He's not a superstar. Like, he's never going to be a Hall of Famer, but he was good enough for long enough in the minors that I made money on him. And I'm positive that the people that I sold to also made money on him, which is what makes this fun.
You have a guy like a Eli Jimenez or Joey Adell who you thought were just going to, go on the scene and be an MVP for their first 5 years in the majors, and you really jumped in heavy on them, and they just never panned out? Do you have a guy that he thought was going to pan out but just didn't?
I really thought that, and he is in the book, and I actually did really well on him, but I thought AJ Reed for the Houston Astros organization was going to be, 240, 250 hitter, but I was convinced he was going to hit 40 bombs a year and be one of those guys that just sticks around forever. kind of in that like Adam Dunn mold, almost a big heavy.
Mom, they're throwing curveballs. I'll be home for dinner.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but man, swing and a miss for me, because I made a lot of money on him in the minor leagues, because he was similar to Jock Peterson, actually, where he was just wildly undervalued for what numbers he was putting up for a long time. I bought a ton of his cards, sold them all before he debuted. And then when his Topps Chrome rookie cards and autos came out, I rebought a ton of that stuff because it was so cheap at the time, because he kind of had an uninspiring debut. That's one strategy that I really like, is find a former top prospect that kind of has a slow start to their career and go and find their cards for cheap when they come out with the rookie card autos and all that stuff. Doesn't always pan out, but sometimes you can get really good value on those guys. I thought I was getting really good value on Reed, and it turns out that he just didn't figure it out and retired earlier than I expected. So I have a nice permanent collection now of AJ Reed, Topps Chrome autos, and so it's part of the fun. Like, you win some, you lose some.
That's funny. Guys, we're speaking with Ryan Sever. It's Sever. He is Cardboard Profit. No S, Cardboard Profit. He's on Instagram at Cardboard Profit, Cardboard Profit. Also on Facebook. He has a website, cardboardprofit.com. He's written a new book. It's called Cardboard Profit, the strategic playbook for making money with sports card. Available on Amazon.
That's right. Amazon only. I refuse to, I don't think my wife would allow our house to turn into a warehouse for books right now. So just Amazon for now anyway.
All right, guys, pick it up. It's a really great book. It's really good if you're a new to collecting in the last year or two. It gives you a great roadmap on how to make money selling sports cards. And if you're a seasoned collector, it gives you a lot of refresher. It's, there's a lot of common sense to it, I think, Ryan. I don't think there's any earth-shattering wows in there, but it's a lot of reminding you what you should be doing, right?
Yeah, it's really just logic based. It's how can we just, kind of keep a framework up, to your point. I like the bumpers of here's what works, and, good market, bad market. How can we, hit doubles and singles consistently over time is how to look at it.
All right. Well, we want one last investment tip for on sports cards. Say you want to make, I don't know, $500 a month. Let's just put a goal, right? We establish our goal. We have a budget, and how do we best attack that?
Yeah, I think start with, what sport do you want to follow? Pick a player that you feel like is undervalued, or who maybe just you think is primed for a big season. So, we're going into football season. Football cards are really hot right now. So I actually like to think outside the box and try to, like, whatever I'm inclined to do, I almost want to do the opposite of it. Like, I'm inclined to buy football cards going into football season, but basketball just ended and no one's talking about basketball right now. So I might be more inclined to look at basketball, because it's what I would call buying season for the next couple of months before anyone's really excited about that again. And look at players that maybe they got drafted, they won't have cards for a while. So you might have to go with guys that are going into their second or third year, who's undervalued, who maybe performed really well, but their cards didn't take off. Maybe some of those guys that were big name prospects that didn't have a good rookie season, that you can pick up a few of their cards for cheap. I also would recommend grading. You can create your own profit margin if you send in, high enough quality stuff and get the grades that you need. But that's kind of what I would stick to, is what are the cards that I can buy now for basketball off season or football off season, if that's your thing. But think about, how do you sell them before the season starts, so you can kind of limit your risk and just sell on the excitement of the upcoming season before the player has to step on the field or on the court and actually prove anything. A lot of times that excitement alone is enough to carry values to new heights.
Right. And diversify, right? Don't stick to one player or two players, because, players that are playing now, they get hurt. Mike Trout gets hurt and his card values go down, or Fernando Tatis has problems with steroids and his cards go down. But Mickey Mantle and Sandy Koufax and Willie Mays, their cards aren't going anywhere. So diversify, pick some new guys, pick some old guys, pick some guys that you pick different sports, but stick to your budget, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I think that this gets really fun. I mean, in your early days, if you're just getting started, stick with it because it takes some time to build up an inventory. And there will come a point where you call it the tipping point, if you will, where you have enough stuff of enough different players from enough different sports that there's almost always something that you can sell and turn a profit on. So stick with it. It takes a little bit of time to get it off the ground. But once you get that first sale under your belt, you're going to know what we're talking about. It's so much fun to make money doing something that you love to do and following sports and using your sports knowledge to make money. So,
And the hobby is still healthy. Would you agree with that statement?
I think that there are a lot of people that are worried because we're coming out of such a crazy time in the market and people are seeing all these values dropping from where they were 2 years ago. But if you look at where they were before the pandemic boom, you look at values in 2019, almost everything of all the major stars and, you know, the good cards of the good players almost across the board are up from there, some of them significantly. The other thing that gives me a lot of confidence, and again, Nationals coming up, it's the biggest show of all time for sports cards. Go there, go check it out, you know, walk around, talk to people. Like, you'll see the excitement in the room. You'll see kids trying to haggle with, you know, 50-year-old men trying to sling a deal. You know, it's a great sight to behold. It's one of my favorite times of the year is getting out there and just seeing all of these people that love the same hobby that I do. And it just gives me confidence that this is going to be around for a long time. The hobby's been here, you know, 100+ years now. It'll be here another 100+ years. We're in maybe a bear market to some extent, but
It's
you know,
cyclical,
we're going to come out of it. It
Right, we'll
always,
come out of it.
exactly. It's always cyclical. So the number of people that are excited about cards right now, I'm convinced is higher than it's ever been before. And that's what gives me confidence in the long-term future of the market.
All right, guys, his name is Ryan Sever. His book is Cardboard Profit, the strategic playbook for making money with sports cards. Pick it up. It is on Amazon. It's a great read, and I thank you for your time, Ryan.
Thanks so much for having me, Jeff. And yeah, if anyone out there wants to follow us on Instagram, get involved in the conversation. I'm checking the inbox. I'm checking the comments every day. I try to respond to everything on there. So if you have a question, I'm a resource that, at least for now, I'm free. So, you know, feel free to hit me up anytime if I can do anything to help you all out.
Yep, guys, the website is cardboardprofit.com. Instagram is @cardboardprofit. Facebook is Cardboard Profit as well. So check it out, and I highly recommend the book. And we're going to actually be giving away a copy of the book this week. So if you want to register to win a copy of the book, just send me your name and your mailing address to ttmcast@yahoo.com, and we'll pick a winner next week. So we're going to give away a copy of Ryan's book. And Ryan, I thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks again for having me.
All right, you're welcome. Buying and selling sports cards has never been easier thanks to the free Collect app. With 1 million collectors on the app, you can find just about anything. Build your PC, sell off your cards for top dollar, trade up to get your Grail card. Are you new to the app? Don't worry about it. There's an option to check out with credit card, generate shipping and tracking, and use promo credits towards deals. Download Collects, that's Collects, COLLX, for free on the App Store or Google Play. Well, Drew, Ryan's book, and I said in the interview, it was kind of like, you know, when you're a kid and you go bowling and they put the bumpers up so the ball doesn't go down the gutter.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Ryan's book was. It was kind of a good guide for, okay, how do I make money selling cards? Oh yeah, you got to do this and you got to do this and sign up for eBay and get your account and do this and this. And it was a really good plan of attack on how to sell cards and the best way to make money off it. And there was nothing that was earth shattering on it. You know what I mean? Like you and I, as veteran collectors, there wasn't like, oh, why didn't we know about that? You know what I mean? It was all the stuff that you and I would know about, but it was still nice to give you a roadmap and say, if you want to make money selling cards, follow this guideline and it'll work for you. And also for young collectors, I think it's a really good introduction to, you can make money selling cards, and you really can make money for selling cards. It's not as easy as it was 2 years ago back in the pandemic time, but if you really want to make money selling cards, I think there's still an opportunity. Would you agree?
Absolutely, there is. And you know what, even for a veteran collector, it's worth a refresher going through and just kind of getting yourself reacclimated with stuff and just making sure that you're doing all these things. Because you never know, you might come across something, you're like, oh yeah, I have an eBay account, I can do that. There might be some small specific thing about eBay that you might have forgotten. You might not realize is an option there. So yeah, it's always worth, going through and kind of, reevaluating what you're doing. And I think this would be a great starting place for doing that.
Yeah, and we're giving away a copy of his book. So if you want to win a copy of Ryan Sever's book, it's called Cardboard Profit. Just send me your name and your mailing address. Very important, guys. I can't send you the book if I don't have your mailing address. And send it to
TTMcast@yahoo.com.
And just put book or Sever in the subject line, and we'll give that away next week. All right, that's Collector's Corner for this week. Next, we're going to talk with Les Wolff and More from Les.
And now it's time for More from Les with hobby legend Les Wolff. The Certified Collectibles Group is playing to win. CGC Trading Cards and CSG are combining into CGC Cards, solidifying its position as one of the world's largest and most prominent card grading services. With the merger, collectors get a number of upgrades, including the option to submit without a paid membership, a Gem Mint 10 grading scale, a sleek new label, a simplified submission process, and prices you are going to love. Grade all your cards with CGC Cards and visit cgccards.com today.
Drew, I love talking to Les. Les is the best. We did some appraisals. We had 3 things sent in from listeners, so we did an appraisal first. Then we talked a little about National. Les is getting ready for the National. He will be out in Chicago, and we're going to get together. Les and Clemente and I are going to have dinner. So we'll miss you, my friend. But we're going to have dinner on I think Thursday, Friday night. Maybe I think we'll do Friday night. Thursday or Friday night. I don't remember, one of those. And then we also talked about this crossover grid that his son is involved in. They have basketball, football, and hockey. So you can go check out the crossover grid. So please enjoy my interview with Les Wolff. All right, guys, it's time for a little appraisal, but it's not really appraisal. It's an opinion from our friend Les Wolff. We got some items sent in from listeners, and then I'm going to talk a little National. Hey, Les.
Good afternoon, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. Hey, we got 3 kind of interesting things to talk about today. First, we got a 8x10 photo, and it's signed by Eddie Matthews and Hank Aaron. It has a PSA, is PSA certified. It's a black and white photo. The signatures are in blue Sharpie. They look pretty clean. Down the bottom of both of the guys' pants, across both guys' pants, looking like they're getting some type of awards. I don't know, in the 50s, probably, Les, you think?
Probably.
So a nice picture to somebody. I don't know, maybe the National League president presenting Matthews and Aaron with awards. So signed by both the guys. What do you think?
A couple $100. It's a good good area. What I think it's worth
is
but you got to find someone that wants that. That's always the issue when it comes to this kind of stuff. You got to find someone that wants to buy that.
Well, both Aaron and Matthew signed a lot, right?
Yeah, they're both 500 home run hitters, so that makes them a little more popular. So
and it's the photo's not signed, so maybe if it was signed and it was in some type of, and it was framed in some type of presentation, it might be worth a little more.
If it was signed by both of them, yes, a few $100.
Well, it is signed by both of them.
No, I'm saying it's worth a few $100. But if Matthew signed it to Hank Aaron, my good friend, and if Aaron wrote to Eddie Matthews, my good friend, it would have increased the value tremendously.
Got it. And if there was something that said Hall of Fame or some type of inscription, 57 MVP or anything like that, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, it's a nice photo. So that one came from Chris Bellich. So thanks, Chris. We have a Smokey Joe Wood, Ted Williams baseball. It is signed by, it's a Lee McPhail baseball, so it's an official AL baseball. It's the ball's kind of yellowed, right? It looks like it's aged some. Ted Williams' signature is across the sweet spot. Joe Wood is on one of the other panels. It would have had to been Joe Wood. We checked, passed away in 1985, so it had to be prior to that when it was signed. They did not play together, but they were both Red Sox. The Ted Williams signature looks legit, right? Would you say it's
Yes,
legit?
it does. They both look legit.
Okay. So what's your thought on the ball?
Because there's no real connection between Williams and Wood, except for the fact they play for the Red Sox. It's not like they won a title together. They did anything together. I would say $300-400 in that area. I think if it was Joe Wood alone or Ted Williams alone, it would be a better item to have than what it is.
Yeah, we've talked about that in terms of people seem to want single signed baseballs as opposed to multiple signed or team signed balls, right?
Yes, that's definitely true. Most people do not want, multiple guys on it. And when you think about it, when you're displaying a baseball, you can only really display one signature on it.
And why did the ball yellow less? What do you think it was let out in the sun, or?
You know what? There's actually a lot of factors involved in it that we don't know exactly what caused it to yellow, but we do know that it is yellow. So sometimes it could be the person's oil in their fingers. It could be the location of where the ball was kept by the sunlight. We really, really don't know exactly what caused that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really yellow. The whole thing is yellow all the way across the ball.
Well, that's, more and more collectors are becoming more and more fussy with baseballs. They want them to be gem white and want the autograph to be brand new, like it was signed yesterday. And because of that, it's affected the values of a lot of stuff, especially baseballs. So I would say $100 is the right number on that. If they both sign the sweet spot, it would be a little different. And if they had some kind of relationship together, being whatever.
Right. If it was like Ted Williams and Bobby Dorr or Joe Wood and Babe Ruth, something like that.
Yes.
Got you. All right. That was from Mike Danzy. Mike, thank you for sending that in. Lastly, this is the third item we got. We got a Patrick Mahomes Arrowhead seat back, right? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's signed by Patrick Mahomes with his number 15, right? Is that his number?
Yes, that's his number. Correct.
Okay. And the seat number, it is seat number 15. So it's just the seat back. It's orange. It has been, it's got a GSA certification to it. And Jason McConneville has sent it in. What do you think that's worth, Les?
I did a little research. The seat backs only sell for like $50 when recently it was sold for $50. Mahomes autograph will probably cost you $100 something. So I would say $200-300. I do see people asking crazy numbers for signed seat backs by Mahomes. Unless we could prove that Patrick Mahomes actually sat in that seat. If you have a picture of him sitting in that seat with his uniform on and his sweat and getting it all over the seat, it's not going to increase that much. I would say guesstimate, just because what it is, a couple $300-400 at most.
And I know like you can buy Red Sox seat backs now in their store for $100, not autographed.
And if you get that autograph by Carly Yastrzemski, that makes it more valuable. If you had Ted Williams on it, and Yastrzemski, and all the Red Sox Hall of Famers, that's going to increase the value of it.
Right. So something like this, you might would you want to get other Kansas City Chiefs to sign it? You want to get Travis Kelce and some of the other Kansas City Chiefs to sign it, or would you just leave it with just the Mahomes signature?
That's a good question. It all depends on the collector. I've always been from the mindset, the more autographs on a baseball, the better off. When my Hall of Fame balls, when I was collecting them in the 70s, I still have a few left. I'd get as many Hall of Fame as I could fit on the ball. Yet had I gotten 25 single sign balls, it would have been worth a lot more than 25 Hall of Famers on one ball. So it depends. If it's a championship team, yes, it's worth more as a championship team. If it's just a bunch of guys together on a ball, I don't think it's worth that much.
Okay, so if you were him, would you try to get the whole championship Kansas City Chiefs team, or would you just leave Mahomes? Well,
there's two schools of thought on that. if you're bothering to get the whole team to sign it, it's gonna come at a cost. And the question will be whether or not you'll be able to make your money back on that cost. So I would have to say probably just leave it the way it is.
Leave it the way it is. All right. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for sending stuff in. We really appreciate it. We'll do another opinion/appraisal next month with Les. But Les, I know you're getting ready for the National. What are you bringing to Chicago with you?
I'm bringing a lot of great stuff. Hopefully some of the viewers out there will be able to take the stuff home, because I don't want to carry them anymore. I got so much stuff. Probably one of the best basketball items I've had in years is going to be the Kobe Bryant signed basketball five-time champ. And my favorite Pete Maravich photo, which is, in my opinion, is the nicest 8x10 I've ever seen. Plus, I got a nice Babe Ruth photo dated from '48 that I'm surprised no one's grabbed up from me yet.
You bringing your Satchel Paige?
I've got a Satchel Paige 8x10 magazine picture.
You bringing your Koufax jersey?
I have my Koufax jersey. That is so limited, and it's such an unusual thing that I almost don't even want to sell it.
Okay. What else have you picked up lately some of the new stuff that you're bringing with you?
A Ted Williams signed jersey I'm going to have.
Oh, nice.
A Derek Jeter, a Stephen Holland, G Clay signed by Derek.
You're bringing your Jeter. You bring in your Jeter base, or did you sell that?
The base is sold.
Okay.
The base has been sold. Someone stole second base.
I know you got a bunch of baseballs. So who do you have for baseballs?
I've got so many. I've got some beautiful Mantle balls, PSA 9s, PSA 10s.
Volpe, I know you have Volpe, right?
Pardon me?
You got Volpe, Anthony Volpe?
Yeah, I just got some Volpe balls in full signature. If anybody's collecting at the ballpark, he's like AV. We can read his whole name, Anthony Volpe. You know what? He's starting his, got like 13 homers. He's just got to get his average up. And he did that all by having dinner with the catcher, Austin Wells, the Yankees. And they had a chicken parm dinner that he paid. And you know what? That's changed his career now. He compounded, and now he's getting hits.
How about Judge? You got any Judge balls bringing?
No, Judge balls have become very, very expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
And plus, he's hurt. I mean, I'll have a Judge signed card that I'll be selling.
You get it? You gonna get any autographs at the show?
I don't know. I might. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet.
Anyone specifically you're looking for? I need to finish off of balls or anything like that?
I might bring my picture of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and I from the Basketball Hall of Fame and try to get him to sign it.
Yep, he's gonna be there. He hasn't been in too many nationals, I don't think, has he?
No, but it's interesting. He's charging extra to write his first name.
Is he really?
$60 extra to sign Kareem.
I wonder why.
Because he's a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. When he was Lou Alcindor, he was perhaps the hardest basketball autograph to get in the world back then.
Really? He sees the dollar signs, right? And he's signing like everyone else.
That's true.
Hey, is there anyone else at the show that you think you might?
I keep on hearing him do those afibrillation commercials.
No, I know.
An AFib. So, I don't know. Maybe get and I'll have some Griff signed Hall of Fame placards, and I'll have some Scott Rowland signed placards, fresh off the print from the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm just gonna have so much stuff. Bats, jerseys.
What's your booth number? Do you know your booth number yet?
701 and 703.
701, 703. Les will be in Chicago at the National. Make sure you stop by. Hey, we have to give one plug to your son. He's go to crossovergrid.com. Why don't you tell everyone about crossovergrid.com?
Well, for you sports fans out there, Crossover Grid is where you have to try to figure out guys that played for two different teams, and it's like a crossword puzzle. So you cross it over, like a guy that played for the Knicks and the Nets. A guy like Jason Kidd, you'd have to guess his name. and it's like 9 boxes, and you have to fill in the boxes.
How have you been
It's
doing?
kinda fun.
Have you finished ending off?
The only ones that I finished off with the baseball ones that my son doesn't do, some of them, they're pretty hard. I mean, you really got to rack your brain to remember some of this stuff.
I know.
But it's a lot of fun. The hockey one, I've tried. I got a couple of those. Right, the football one, I got a couple. But every now and then, my son keeps on asking me, "Did you ever hear this guy? Did you ever hear this guy?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard of this guy. He played a couple of games for this team." But it's kind of fun hearing him. He's like so excited with it.
Well, guys, check it out. Crossovergrid.com. It's fun. They're doing football, basketball, and hockey. And then
And if anybody wants to go out there and sponsor it, he is available. Just email him at Crossover Grid.
All right, bud. All right. I think that is it. I think we will see you in Chicago, and we're 14 days away now. So when are you heading out?
I'm heading out there Tuesday morning of the show. Going to get there early. When are you coming?
We will be there on Wednesday. We'll be there
Maybe we could shoot a little show from my booth.
Yeah, well, we'll be there. I'll be there Wednesday for the VIP event, and then we'll be there the whole show. Drew is not coming into the show, so we'll be flying solo for this one, but really looking forward to it, and it should be a fun show.
Who's on the VIP? Who's coming for the VIP?
It is BJ Armstrong, Bob Lilly, and Marcel Dion.
500 goal scorer.
Yeah, and those 3 guys are all good TTMers, but I do need a Marcel Dion, so I'm gonna have him sign a couple cards.
Okay, sounds like fun.
All right, buddy. We will see you in Chicago. Thank you for appraising again this week. Again, guys, check out crossovergrid.com and make sure you check out Les if you go to the National at booth 701 and 703, right?
Yes.
70. All right, bud. We will see you in Chicago. Be good.
Take care.
All right, thanks. Well, Drew, Les is the best. He is the best. We love to have him on the program. I love talking to him. Make sure you check out Sports Collectors Digest this month. It's coming out, I think, this week, actually. I wrote an article on Les, a feature article on Les. It's in Sports Collectors Digest this week. It's in their national preview edition show edition. So it's going to be at the show. If you pick it up, make sure you check it out. If you see me, you want me to autograph it, I can autograph it. I do sign autographs sometimes. So I want to thank Les and more from Les, and it will be doing appraisals probably in August. That'll be our next appraisal. So if you have something you want Les to appraise, send in the picture as long in a description, and we will do an appraisal. So that wraps up more from Les. Next up is Making the Grade.
Making the Grade is sponsored by Certified Sports Guarantee. Go to csgcards.com for sports card grading for the win. The Certified Collectibles Group is playing to win. CGC Trading Cards and CSG are combining into CGC Cards, solidifying its position as one of the world's largest and most prominent card grading services. With the merger, collectors get a number of upgrades, including the option to submit without a paid membership, a Gem Mint 10 grading scale, a sleek new label, a simplified submission process, and prices you are going to love. Grade all your cards with CGC Cards and visit cgccards.com today.
Making the Grade is a summary of what's been going on in the grading community. And Drew, we have some grading numbers to report.
Yes, we do. The first week of July is in. That's a holiday week there. So numbers down a little bit thanks to 4th of July. But from July 3rd through the 9th, PSA graded 178,800 cards. That's a 23% drop, kind of to be expected there with a day off in there. SGC actually went up from the previous week. They had a 4% increase, 23,800 cards going through their offices. Beckett down 39%, 9,700 cards graded by them. And CGC down 52%, 6,100 cards. They're still doing all that merger stuff. They still have some, tech issues going on there. So there may be a few more than that have gone through them. But
yeah, and if you go to the National, CGC is going to be there. They're going to have all sorts of fun stuff going on. They're going to have games like Skee Ball and Miss Pac-Man and all sorts of other cool stuff where you can earn tokens for prizes. I'm sure they have hats and sweatshirts and all sorts of cool stuff and discounts on grading. And speaking of grading, if you have cards you want to get graded, you can drop them off at the CGC booth, and they'll grade them for starting at $20, which is a pretty good deal. So if you go into the Nationals, make sure you stop by the CGC booth and win some prizes, have some fun, and you can talk to the graders and you can drop off cards to grade. So all pretty good move, don't you think?
Absolutely. I remember last year they had that little basketball shooter game set up there, which was kind of cool there. And yeah, they had a real great booth there last year, and I'm sure it'll be just as good this year, if not better.
Yeah, I think this year's booth's going to put last year's to shame, honestly. Yeah. Well, Drew, what do we usually do next, right? What do we do next?
The big three.
The big three. Well, this week we bring in Ryan Szynski from gemrate.com, and he's going to talk a little about some of the grading numbers that we've seen over the last couple months, as well as giving us this week's big three. So here's Ryan with the big three.
This week's big three is brought to you by gemrate.com. Whose cards are hot and whose cards are cold this week? Let's find out from our friends at gemrate.com.
All right, guys, now it's time for the big three. That's our professional echo. We have Ryan Szynski from gemrate.com, and Ryan supplies us these exclusive statistic each week. The only place you're going to hear the big three is right here on TTMcast. We appreciate Ryan. Ryan does a great job with all the grading numbers, and I thought we'd talk a little grading first, and then we'll go right into the big three. Okay, Ryan?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks again for having me on. I always appreciate it.
Oh, this is one of my favorite segments when you come on. I just, you shed light on numbers, which is really intriguing to me. My question to you for grading in the past, I wouldn't know, maybe month and a half, the numbers have been kind of all over the place, right? We're up 1 week, we're down for 2 or 3 weeks, we're back up 1 week, we're down for a couple of weeks. CGC and CSG have merged, and I'm not quite sure what to make of their numbers, because the last couple of weeks they've been really down a lot. What's your take on kind of the grading market as a whole right now?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's one that I think is still we're feeling out, just in the sense that it's been very promotional, and we're sort of, that's been sort of the biggest factor in sort of who's driving demand where. You've seen SGC
really
run
since
their
the beginning of the year, don't you think? When CSG ran their sale for most of the fall, right, October, November into December, it's really been very cyclical since then.
Yeah, and it's pretty much stayed that way, and you can even tell with PSA, for example, when they've been driving a lot of demand with the TCG specials they've been running, and they actually reduced the price to a lower floor. And once that happened, a little bit of the urgency went away, and the TCG numbers have sort of cooled off a little bit, and they've been carrying a lot of the grading activity the last really since the beginning of the year. And so you've seen that with PSAs of the world, and you're seeing it at all ends of the spectrum here. And so that definitely plays into it. You definitely have the holidays that are sort of driving the weekly demand, is sort of the ups and downs of it. But if you sort of zoom out, June was pretty much a flat month for us year over year. And, I can't remember if that's exactly right now off the top of my head, but there's not been a lot of change, I guess, is the big picture story there. And, we are sort of gearing up though for the national, and we'll see if PSA has a pretty aggressive special had a pretty aggressive special in the market, which they just closed at the end of last month, which will start to flow through the numbers now, because you have to remember there's a bit of a delay. We're responding to what hits the pop report, not necessarily the submission itself. And so when PSA runs a special, it takes a few weeks for it to process and actually hit the pop report. So their 90s plus special was pretty aggressive, and I think that'll start to juice some of the numbers a bit. But it sort of depends on the TCG side of the market too, because that's been establishing a pretty good floor for grading. And then, to your point, you have a lot of noise in the space, which is productive noise in some ways, which is that, you have the CGCs of the world zooming out and thinking about where do they need to be big picture to have an impact on the hobby. And, they announced the merger of the trading cards and the sports cards. And so I think that positions them well in the long run, but that sort of creates a bit of noise in the near term. You've got Beckett that's been in the news over the last, few months about things that they've been doing on their end to try to sort of right the ship. And so, you have noise. And I think now once we hit the national, we'll sort of get a little bit more clarity on just what does it look like for the back half of the year as it relates to pricing, promotions, how are these brands sort of positioning themselves? And then lastly, you have SGC, who's done a lot of promotional activity, and that's helped them a lot. But they have to make sure that they sustain that when they're not running an aggressive promotion on things like Topps and Bowman too. So
Yeah,
a lot of moving parts.
I just got an email from Susan at CGC, and they're going to have a $20 per card grading at the Nationals. So they're still combating with promotions, right? They're all kind of, okay, it's time now. Not time for us to run a promotion, and I mean it's great for the collector.
Yeah. I mean, look, it depends too. That I haven't seen that promotion yet, but if it's something that's actually for within, that might be drop off. If it's actually sort of something that's graded on site, that's a really attractive price. I don't know if that's for drop off or not. Probably drop off, just given sort of how low that is. But that was actually sort of at the show turnaround. That would be really aggressive because the other competitors are more at the $100 plus range for something that you're going to drop off at the beginning of the show and get back during the show. So that would be really interesting. I mean, what I do like is that this competitive market has sort of forced all the companies to sort of just think about how do they stand out, how do they differentiate? And so, there are ways to do that with just rethinking how promotional you are or in what ways you are promotional.
And I just dropped it into your inbox, so now you've got it.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
I literally just got it late this afternoon, so they've got it. We're hot off the presses, guys. If you're, we give you hot off the presses news here at TTMcast.
Yeah,
what?
$20 on site. Yeah, that's aggressive. I mean, that's a good promotion. I mean, that's kind of what you have to do, and I think that's a smart move in the sense that you want to have people with fresh slabs that either they can showcase or try to move. But that's a good promotion for a brand that they're still sort of trying to get build momentum, especially with some of the changes they've made. So I like something like that. I mean, it's obviously probably like a loss leader in the near term, but it's one of those things that you a step you have to take to sort of establish yourself, and no better place to do that than the National.
How does the SGC promotion having grading new cards, the Series 1 and Series 2 from Topps, has that affected the market at all?
Yeah, it definitely moves the needle for them specifically. It doesn't have a massive change to sort of the macro numbers, but I mean, it definitely, you see it on the baseball side. SGC has been thriving sort of when you think about baseball in general, and then specifically this ultra modern Topps and Bowman that they've been grading. They also are testing a promotion on the football side of things, and you've seen football has seen some momentum pick up on that side as well, which has been positive. So they're the one that's been the most quiet to date as it relates to their plans for the National. So I'll be very curious to see if they do anything to sort of spice it up and sort of just help people think a little bit differently about their brand or extend it beyond some of these more recent promotions that they've been running. So I'm very curious on their end, but they've definitely been the quietest as it relates to their national plans.
Yeah, I think the market as a whole, I'm saying the grading market as a whole, has been really interesting. Really since PSA had their downturn, their problems about getting cards out and shutting down. Really for the last 2 years, it's just been influx, and people they're being aggressive. All the companies are being aggressive, and they're trying to get their hold in the marketplace. And I think it's fun to watch, and it must be fun for you because it's ever changing each week.
Yeah, it is super interesting to watch, and the significant majority of the promotions and the activity has been around grade to flip, which was what was really sort of in vogue a few years ago when things hit its peak, and things have obviously slowed down. And so I think the brands are now, and the grading companies are in a position where they have to think not only about that grade to flip occasion, but just how do we make grading more attractive to collectors in total. And so that's the thing that I'm most excited about over the next year, is just to see like windowing into where else are these these companies thinking about extending, and how do they make grading as a whole valuable to you as a collector versus just the idea of flipping it or moving it quickly and sort of getting the best price on the on the market. And so it's been interesting to watch, and I'm mostly curious to see if as pricing sort of levels off, we hit these floors that you're not going to be able to go much lower than, obviously. And so that's going to be the thing I'm most interested in seeing, but we'll see. I mean, it's not totally clear sort of like what those levers are that are going to be pulled, set registry, things like that, are things that have been pulled in the past, or sort of people have, touted. You've seen things like PSA has been pushing their app and new features with that. SGC has sort of been quietly talking about their app. You see things like CGC has been doing partnerships. So you kind of have different, stakes that the companies are putting in the ground. So I'm really curious to see like ways that these companies can advance collecting as a whole through grading as one of those key points of contact.
Yeah, and I think with Fanatics trying to grow the hobby tenfold in the next couple of years, I would think that the grading companies are going to kind of ride those coattails, right? Because like, all these new people coming into the grading, coming into the hobby, well, in turn, they're going to have to get their cards graded eventually.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, it could be interesting to see, people, I've heard great ideas from people about, Fanatics working more closely with the grading companies and thinking about including, grading promotions in their packs, or including, they've done things, these, a lot of ways, we're revisiting the past, things that have been done in the early 2000s where, there's graded cards in packs and things like that, or included in boxes, I should say.
Yeah.
So we'll see if some of those ideas that maybe in a different time work a little bit better, now that there's grading is much more widely and broadly accepted. But Fanatics is obviously a big part of this equation, and sort of who they partner with and in what capacity is going to be really interesting to watch too.
Yeah, I agree. We're talking with Ryan Stuxinski, excuse me, Ryan, I apologize, from gemrate.com. And guys, it is time for the big three, my favorite.
The big three.
The big three.
I'll never do it justice.
We really need Drew, because Drew does the echo.
He nails it. I know. I can't live up to it, so I don't really want to try.
All right, well, Ryan, why don't you explain to people what the big three is, because they might be new to the show, and then let's get the big three risers and the big three fallers or droppers for the week.
Yeah. So real quick on the methodology. So I look at the highest growth for players across all grading companies. Week over week, but I look at a trailing 2 week. I look at the trailing 2 weeks of data just to make sure, because what happens is you'll have a player who's up and then they'll drop the subsequent week, and so that sort of just leads to this whiplash effect. And so to sort of level things out, I look at a rolling 2 weeks instead. And what I do from there is you have to have some established floor of cards graded in a given week. So let's say you have to have a few hundred cards that have been seen. So we're not looking at sort of anomalies or sort of
right. If you go from 0 to 20, that doesn't affect it.
Exactly. So we have a threshold that sort of is a qualifier for this. And then we look at that and we say, okay, who's sort of seen momentum this past week, but it's actually been more sustained over the couple weeks. And so that's sort of the gist of it. And so within that, it's always very interesting, whenever I send an email and the update for the week, it's always funny because, sometimes it's kind of clear what might be happening and other times it's not at all clear. And I've mentioned this before in some of my write-ups, but, you can have a single collector that can move the number for some of these players.
Sure.
We've seen that in the past, and it's really interesting. And it's not, the data is the data, and sometimes that can move the needle, especially if it's one of those players that's right on the cusp of sort of that threshold that I was mentioning before. And so it's always interesting to see. But the big three this week I can get into, but the top risers this week is probably not a surprise at the top. Ellie De La Cruz is just, all sort of the rage right now in the hobby. And he's not only the top graded player this past week, but he also had the top graded card. His Bowman prospect card was the most graded. It's just seen a significant push over the last few weeks, and really since his call up. And he's just continued to sort of, yep, there you go. See, I see it there. That's a beaut, ready to be graded.
It's mosaic.
Oh yeah, that looks great.
I was holding up Ellie De La Cruz mosaic.
I have 0, and it's very disappointing. But the prospecting game is tough, and that's definitely one. I mean, you did ebbs and flows as much as anything.
You know what? I have like 3 of them. I'm not mosaic. I have 3 first Bowman. If you want one, I'll bring it to you and give it to you at the National.
Oh, that's very nice of you. I appreciate it. I will absolutely take it. So thank you.
I'm putting it in to go to the National pile. It is yours, my friend.
Much appreciated. It'll be the first in my collection, so thank you. And then in addition, you have Josh Young, and then you have Cade Cunningham. So those 3, but Ellie was far and away the most, or saw the most significant increases. And then
do you think Cunningham was on because he was hurt at the end of the year, and we're coming into basketball season, and we have summer league, and people are starting to think basketball, and there's a potential for him to turn it around this year?
That's probably true. I mean, I didn't look at the specific cards behind him that were sort of driving the increase, but yeah, I think that's fair to assume. I think people forgot about him when he got injured. A lot of the stuff came out, and he wasn't playing, and so now that there's, we are back in. I mean, we're looking at data that's reflective of cards that were, submitted 6, 7, 8 weeks ago in most instances, and so. The reality is this is once the season ended, people started gearing up for the off season. And I think Cade is somebody that people are still pretty excited about, even though he's had some injury concerns. And, the Pistons are obviously like an up and coming team. So we'll see. Not totally clear. I mean, it's but Cade's definitely one to watch. I mean, people I think are rooting to see Cade do well because that
What
candidly the rookie
card?
classes.
Sorry to interrupt. What card was the big card of the week?
It was the Ellie De La Cruz Bowman Chrome prospect that you showed me. So not the mega, but the just the base Chrome.
Yep.
And then on the other side of the equation, the biggest dips were O'Neal Cruz. So another guy that's sort of people.
Yeah, the lust is kind of falling off a little on him, right?
Yeah, he had that tough injury, and he's just out of the cycle now, so he's fallen off the radar. And then the others are, you got your Hall of Famers, you got the Ricky Henderson and Derek Jeter, which these are the ones where I'm always like, what happened there, right? Because and it's harder to move because they have such established bases, and like they're definitely not as susceptible to the swings that you see with prospects or some of the up and comers across the different sports. But it's always interesting when you see like a Ricky Henderson who always does really well when we do our monthly reports. Yeah. He's always at the top of the list. Like that's just an iconic card that is always graded across all the companies. And so, I'm always interested to see when like a Ricky Henderson drops. Derek Jeter is a little harder to know exactly what's happening there. But those were the bottom three this month or this week.
Do you think basketball and football are still attractive from an investment standpoint and from a grading standpoint? They had a real bump during the pandemic, and we've kind of leveled off. And do you think more people are going back to baseball cards, or it's just kind of still a pretty good mix between the top three?
It's a good question. So, I mean, the biggest number that sort of speaks to what had happened and where we're at now is basketball is off like 65% from its peak as it relates to grading activity. So it was sort of the workhorse behind the uptick, and then it's really taken a step back. That's it's now like a clear number three. Baseball and football have surpassed it and have consistently sort of outperformed it the last couple months at a minimum.
Do you think that's because of the incoming pending doom for Prism, and that they're going to be losing all these licensing fees, and people are just kind of waiting until Fanatics is starting releasing basketball cards and football cards again, and then that will bounce back?
I think that probably plays into it a little bit. I think it speaks more to the rookie classes. That's so when like a Cade Cunningham shows up, there really hasn't been that much excitement behind the 21 and 22 basketball classes, for example. So obviously the Wembanyama is going to generate a lot of interest. And so I do think like basketball will see a resurgence as people, you already start to see that with these, these off-brand sort of SI for kids and stuff like that. Wembanyamas and some other cards of his that are now starting to surface from European sets, I believe. And so it's I think we'll see momentum there, but it's definitely taken a hit partially due to the rookie classes. Whereas, we had this in our monthly report that came out at the beginning of July, but Shohei was the most graded athlete for the first time. We've seen Jordan now is 15 or 16 straight months where it was Michael Jordan. It was, almost a given. I almost just don't have to look at the list. I can plug him in as number one, and Shohei passed him. And so that was definitely like a big milestone. Just from like okay, we have sort of a standout player in baseball that is clearly sort of the hobby's enthralled with and the sport is enthralled with. And so that's been really interesting to see. And then football always has a lot of excitement, especially coming into the national and, the off season. People are throwing all those quarterbacks into the mix, just hoping that somebody sticks. And so you see a lot of grading activity there. The one thing I'll say from football, from an anecdotal standpoint, is we're definitely seeing like more momentum on the receiver side. I don't know sort of the magnitude of that in the sense of, if that's sort of going to, withstand the
Jefferson, Chase, and all these other guys, right?
Yeah, and that's been interesting to see that there's just been, they kind of will be on my list every week, and they'll be up and down sometimes, but they're definitely showing up more often than they were in the past. And so I'm wondering if there's just a slight shift towards receivers having a little bit more of a staying power in the hobby too. We'll see. I mean, that would be interesting. It's been tough for that to sort of sustain, but we'll see. Do
you have anything special planned for the National for Gem Rate?
Nothing in particular. Come up to me if you see me. I'll have some swag, a very limited bit of swag. So we'll have some shirts and some hats. But I love walking the floor, talking to people, understanding sort of like how they use Gem Rate data. But in general, I just love walking the floor. I'm there the whole show. I'm there Tuesday through Sunday, and so just getting to talk to people in the hobby and really understanding sort of what are they looking at, how are they looking at things. If people have feedback, always feel free to come up to me and offer feedback, whether that's specific to the data that we're bringing to the market every week, every month, or the tool. Some of the universal pop report stuff that we're working on, but nothing, we don't have a booth. I just like walking the floor and sort of talking.
Sure. Okay, guys, Ryan Steksinski from gemrate.com. He is the best. He supplies all our grading statistics from weekly grade. We give the weekly grading statistics every Wednesday. We do the monthly grading statistics. We try to look into some of the statistics that you put out on the website. We also do a big three every week, which is exclusive to TTMcast listeners, just for us. So Ryan, I really appreciate your support for the show, and we'll see you in Chicago, my friend. Safe travels.
Yeah, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you there, and I thank you in advance for the alley.
Oh, no problem. We'll see you in Chicago. Thank you, Ryan.
All righty. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Well, Drew, I always bring Ryan in to give us a break, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's always good to have a little pause in there for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love Ryan because he brings reason to numbers. You know, sometimes we look at him like, well, why is this? Or why is that? Ryan is the one that generates all these numbers for us each week. We appreciate Ryan helping us out. GemRate.com. They follow all the big four grading companies, as well as providing exclusive statistics for the big three. So Ryan, thank you for joining us this week, and we will see you in Chicago as well. Well, that wraps up Making the Grade. Next up is the TTMcast Stamp of Approval.
I bet you're wondering who earned this week's TTMcast Stamp of Approval.
Drew, why don't you do yours? Because I'm fighting a summer cold here, and I need to take a drink or I'm going to die.
All right, so mine goes for went and checked out stuff on Amazon Prime Day, which was this past week. My wife and I are both big fans of it. We've got Prime itself, and we figured, all right, Prime Day, let's see what kind of deals we can get. And one of the big things I needed was some new shoes, because I've been sitting here wearing these Columbia tennis shoes that I've had for probably about a year. It's maybe 2.5 years at this point now, but notice there's a hole in the top of them. It's like, that's not good. I'm probably better looking
floor
to get
hockey
something
shoes.
I use them for everything. I wear them for playing floorball. I use them for, running out and getting autographs, for anything, just, running up to the store even. And so, I mean, they've served me very well. Columbia makes great stuff, but it got a hole in the top of one of them. The soles are getting worn down. It's like, all right, it is time to go ahead and get something new. And especially with all the feet problems that I have to wear orthotics in my shoes and stuff because of super low arches, dealing with gout, all that fun crap there. So I'm like, all right, I'll go out and find a new pair. So I went up to Burlington and checked out their shoes and picked up a pair. And it's like, hey, these look good and they feel good and everything. And I wore them twice before they started ripping on the top of them. It's like, okay, that's no good. So I figure, all right, Amazon Prime Day, they've got to have something in the way of shoes. And yeah, I found 2 different pairs of shoes. One of them was actually recommended for floorball players to wear and was recommended for people who have orthotics. So I'm like, all right, great, we'll get those. And then it's a pair of Asics ones for those. And then I found these ones that are these ones made by some company in China called Just So shoes. And so it has these this band on it that says Just So. And like, that's kind of funny because I could say, oh yeah, hey, look, they put my floorball scouting report right on the back of this here. So I'm like, all right, we're going to grab those. We'll try those out. And I got them in, and it's, I mean, they're surprisingly good for the price. I mean, I think it was like $25 for this pair of them. They've got them under several different sellers on Amazon. I'll have several different sellers, brands, or whatever. But look for the band. This is Just So. And they come in like a whole bunch of different colors and designs. You got these ones that are black with kind of like white and gray specks on them. Don't really know how to describe them besides that, but they were ridiculously comfortable. I wore them yesterday for the first time, going out and getting autographs. My orthotics fit very well into them. The insole's a little bit hard because I have to take out the regular insole they put in there and put these ones in. So it's a little bit hard on there, but I might be able to actually put the old ones, the regular ones in there along with. I'm going to try that out today and see how they go. But for like $25 or whatever it was, I think maybe 30 at the most, 35 maybe. But for that price, these were great shoes. I'm hoping they hold up for a long time, like these, not like those ones I picked up at Burlington, and at least as well as those ones I got at from Columbia. So my stamp of approval for the week, Amazon, Just So brand shoes. Check them out. They're kind of weird, not exactly the most super stylish of anything, but they're pretty damn comfortable.
All right, we're gonna have to check on you in like a month or two and see how they're holding up. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. See if they do better than the Burlington Levi's shoes there.
All right. My TTMcast stamp approval is frozen Charleston shoes. We got our new little refrigerator thing that we would talk about. I talked about a couple weeks ago. So we put these in the bottom of the refrigerator, and they're the I don't know, like the nickel or 10-cent ones that you used to see when you were kids. The just a thin Charleston shoe. So they're they're semi-frozen, and I'm addicted to them. I have like 2 of them every day.
Nice.
They're so good. So I am going for the frozen Charleston Chew, guys. That is my TTMcast Stamp Approval. Simple, straightforward. You need a little kick. You need a little piece of chocolate, some marshmallow, whatever. Frozen Charleston Chews is my TTMcast Stamp of Approval. That was quick and painless.
Oh yeah.
All right, Drew. Next up is the Vern Rapp Minute. You want to do it? You want to do the intro?
All right. The Vern Rapp Minute is dedicated to the memory of Mr. Vern Rapp, who Jeff sent an autograph request out to, not realizing that he had already died, unfortunately. So we provide a service to all of the collectors out there so that you don't make the mistakes that we have made. And we let you know who in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, politics, anybody that you might consider TTMing, if they have died in the last week, we'll try to keep you updated on that.
Have you sent a TTM request to someone in the past?
I haven't, but I've had this weird bad luck of sending one out and having them die like a week after I send it. I've had that happen 4 different times, and 2 of the times they died after, like, the day they signed my stuff. They signed my stuff, sent it back, and died later that day. It's happened twice, and I've had 2 of them that have died before they ever got to it.
Yeah, I had Vern Rapp, and I had another guy. I think it was Bob Parsons, was a punter, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I remember you mentioned.
I sent him out last year. I think we somehow missed him on the Vern Rapp Minute, and I missed that he passed away. And I sent it, and his family member sent the card back saying he's no longer with us. Like, oops.
Yep, I had it was Hal Haydell, who was a pitcher for the Twins. I had mailed out to him, and he's the one who, I think he died like maybe 3 days after I sent it. I didn't know that he was in hospice with cancer at the time, so that's yeah. And then the other one was Lee Stang, the former Red Sox pitcher.
Yeah.
I mailed out to him, and he died 2 days later, and got a note back from the family saying, "Yeah, sorry, he passed on. Here's the." They actually did send the one of the little program things from his funeral there along with it. So.
Yeah, I got Wade Wilson. I got that for Wade Wilson when he passed. So, all right, guys, here's our Vern Rapp Minute. We lost Joe Campbell. Joe was a defensive end. He played for the Saints, Raiders, and the Buccaneers from 1977 to 1981. When he went to Maryland. I believe they said he is in the Delaware Hall of Fame. I think he's from Delaware, obviously.
Oh, wow.
He was a pretty good TTM. His last TTM in February of 2023 this year. Joe Campbell was 68 years old.
That might make him about the 3rd most famous person from Delaware then, because I cannot think of too many people.
Joe Biden is still number 1?
Joe Biden and Aubrey Plaza are the top 2. And actually, Aubrey Plaza was ranked the number 1 most famous person from Delaware a couple of years ago, beating out Biden. So, yeah.
She is in another world, isn't she?
She is. Oh God, her interviews are weirdly hilarious every time she does any of them. Yeah,
she's just. I mean, I've seen her on Saturday Night Live, and I've seen her. I've seen a lot of her interviews, and she's just cooked.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's an actor, if it's really her. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah, it might be an alien. I don't know. We really don't know.
No, you know what I mean? Like if she's really like that, or she's just putting on an act. Like Paris Hilton was one. She's not as dumb as her persona, her public persona, and she's really, she really plays that up. Maybe Aubrey Plaza is kind of like that as well.
That's entirely possible. I could see that. Yeah. Oh, let's see. We also lost C.R. Roberts this week. He was a fullback, played for the 49ers from 1959 to 1962, and was at USC, the first black running back at USC, actually. So barriers broken by him there in his career. Played 27 games in the NFL in those years that I'd mentioned. He last TTM'd in 2010. C.R. Roberts was 87 years old.
This one, Drew, I have a soft spot for people that played in the All-American Girls Baseball, Professional Baseball League. They're trailblazers. I love the movie. Anytime I've had any interaction with these women, they're just fantastic ambassadors for the game. And we lost Helen Nordquist Nordquist, and she was a local girl. She was born in Boston. She went to Malden. She was grew up in Malden, which is just a couple towns over from here. She was a pitcher and a right fielder for the Kenosha Comets, the Rockford Peaches, the South Bend Blue Sox. She played from 51 to 54. Her last TTM was 2015. Helen Nordquist was 91 years old.
We lost Chris Hoggy this week, I think is how it's pronounced. Hoggy, Howie, something like that. Known as Bud Hoggy. Played one game with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1943, made his major league debut at the age of 18, and oddly enough, also making his debut that day was Hall of Famer Gil Hodges. Hoggy ended up losing the game. He's an 0-1 career record, a 3.86 ERA. It was the last game of the season, and not only was he 18, it was his 18th birthday that he made his debut here, playing against the Reds, and that was it. That was it for his career. He went off to World War II, fought in it, came back. Obviously wasn't killed in World War II since he, made it all the way to age 96 here, but never played another ball game again after that. His last TTM was in 2015. Bud Hoggy was 96 years old.
I so love the stories of the guys that played one game, and they made it to the pinnacle, and there's like over 20,000 people that have played in a major league game, but still only 20,000 people in a 120 years or 130 years or whatever it is. So and at least he carried a 3.86 ERA, not a 27.5 ERA like some of these guys,
Exactly.
So, it's too bad. We lost Gary Allen. Gary Allen was a running back for the Houston Oilers and Dallas Cowboys. He went to the University of Hawaii, which I went and spent a semester there. I loved the University of Hawaii when I was there. Gary Allen played from 1982 to 1984. He did not do TTMs. Gary Allen was 63 years old.
And lastly, we lost Jimmy Weldon this week from the world of entertainment. He did the voice of Yankee Doodle Duck for the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. You may have seen some of those back in the day when had kind of the animation renaissance there of the 50s and 60s with Hanna-Barbera making all their stuff. Jimmy Weldon, 99 years old.
Yeah, there's not too many of the pioneers, these animation pioneers from the 50s and 60s that are still with us. So it's too bad. And that is it for the Vern Rapp Minute. Our sympathy goes out to anyone that lost anyone this week, and we are sorry for your loss. Well, Drew, next up is returns.
Yes.
Was our mailbox full this week? Let's take a look at this week's TTM returns.
All right, let's do a little TTM returns. See, I told you, Drew, when you started to get going, I'd get you going, and you're back. You're like at peak optimum right now in terms of you got everything going.
As soon as you get me ranting on the Cleveland Guardians bullpen, that wakes me up right there.
I know.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take anymore. So.
Didn't I promise everyone? I said you came on. You were a little groggy, and then we got you talking, and then you forgot about being tired and hungry and a little hungover. I know you don't drink, but
right.
But
it was a baseball hangover.
Baseball hangover. Yeah, and pissed off because you didn't get any autographs at the Rangers game. I would have been so pissed. When you can't get autographs, something's wrong. It really.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so much wrong with the Rangers ballpark, and so yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I had a lot of returns this week. I had 16 actually. I'll do mine, and then Drew is going to actually open one of his returns live here on air. So let me do mine. I got 2 from Dennis Eckersley. Very cool. I was happy to get that. That took about, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks. And then I got a bunch of 1973 Topps football cards back. I got okay, Drew, you're gonna have to tell me the teams these guys play on. Can we quiz you?
Oh, geez.
All right. Halvor Hagen, you know him?
I have never even heard of him. I couldn't tell you his team, his position, anything about him.
All right. He played for my New England Patriots.
Okay.
My New England Patriots. He's a German guy.
Nice.
If you couldn't tell with that name.
Yeah, makes sense.
He was, let me see. I think he was a defensive end, but I'm going to get that. Let me find his card. He was a guard. He was an offensive lineman. He wore number 63. And then I got Jim Bailey. Do you remember Jim Bailey? Jim Bailey played for the Colts.
Okay.
And he was a defensive tackle for the Baltimore Colts. Then I got John Schmidt. John Schmidt was a center for the New York Jets, and he actually played in Super Bowl with the New York Jets. He was the center with the New York Jets. Then I got Billy Hayhoe, Billy Hayhoe. He played for, I believe it was the Saints. No, he played for the Green Bay Packers. He was a tackle.
Okay.
He played for the Green Bay Packers. He signed my card. These all came back in like 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, Fred Hoagland. Fred Hoagland. Do you remember him, Drew?
Cleveland Browns center.
He was the center, and he played for the Colts as well.
Okay, I knew him as a Brown, so that's my
There you
first.
go.
Thought.
Very good. I give you an A+ for that one.
Yes.
All right, this gentleman who was going to be a guest on our show because I interviewed him, he went to Boston University. He played on the only Boston University team that went to a bowl. It's the only team that BU team that went to the bowl. BU does not have football anymore, and he's a local guy, and he's very funny. He told a lot of good stories. His name is Pat Hughes. He played like 10 years for linebacker for the Giants and the Saints.
Nice.
I got Jim Skaggs. Remember Jim Skaggs, Drew?
Don't remember him at all.
Jim Skaggs. You know why? Because these are all offensive linemen, Drew.
That explains it. Yep.
He played offense. He played guard for the Philadelphia Eagles. Dave Foley. You know Dave Foley, right?
Yes, part of the electric company with the Bills.
That's right, with the Bills. Dave Foley, got him. I knew you knew him.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this one? This guy's I spoke to him 2 times already. We might get him on the show.
All right.
Margene Adkins.
I don't know him.
He was a wide receiver with the Saints. He was the fastest guy in the CFL.
Oh,
and
wow.
then he came over and played with the Saints and the Cowboys and a couple other teams. Very funny guy. He's a little gun shy, camera shy, you know.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
I'm hoping we get him on the show. He was a great guy to talk to. You might know this guy, Johnny Fuller.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Was
you
he
look at him, you're like, oh yeah, remember him? He played safety for the 49ers.
49ers? Okay.
Yeah. And then John Morris, you know John Morris?
Are we getting into hockey now with him?
No,
Former Devil?
football.
Okay. Yeah, don't know him
He
then.
played for the Patriots. He was a center. He played a long time for the Patriots.
Because there was
John Morris.
there was a former New Jersey Devils player who was named John Morris, spelled the same way too. So that's what had me going there.
Yeah, he's a local guy. He was born in Essex, Massachusetts, and he's still around the local area. So he goes to a lot of the Patriots things. Also, I got Craig Ramsey, who played for the Buffalo Sabres.
Mhm.
I got 2 cards from him. I got Garfield Hurd on a 76 Topps basketball card, one of the tall boys.
Nice.
He played for the Suns, and who else did he play for? A couple other teams, didn't he? He played for
Probably.
the
My 70s basketball knowledge is pretty limited.
Seattle, Buffalo, the Suns. He went to Oklahoma.
There we go.
So I got Garfield Hurd, and then I got 2 yesterday. I got Mike Bearbeck, who was a pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers.
The pride of Orrville, Ohio, as well.
Okay, he I think this is his rookie card. 87 Topps rookie card.
Yeah, I think that's his rookie. But yeah, Orrville, Ohio went to Kent State as well. I remember because I said to him a few years ago, and I'm like, hey, wait a second, I know that town.
And then lastly, I got Mike Lloyd, Lloyden, Loynd he was a Texas Ranger.
Yeah,
and he won 2 games in 86. So I'm not sure what his career was like because I haven't researched him yet. But that wraps up all my TTMs, and most of these were, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks returns. Garfield Hurd took a while. It was a couple months, but that was I got 16 returns, including a Dennis Eckersley, 2 from Dennis Eckersley. So I was very happy about that.
Yeah, that's a super solid week right there.
All right, bud, how'd you do?
I did all right. It's definitely better than last week when I had, that whole 1 to talk about. So this week I actually have 2, and I'm going to open a 3rd one live on the show here.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, this will be good. So first 2 that I got in, both coming in on Monday, I think it was. You got Kelly Rudy, former goalie for several teams with the Sharks, with the Kings, and the New York Islanders. Needed him for my 88-89 top set, so he signed that one and a couple others, and even wrote a short note back saying, hey, thanks for the kind words. I mentioned stuff about his broadcasting career in there. And so, it was good it's always nice getting a short note like that back. Got Rodney Scott. Now, this is not the guy that was an outfielder back in the 80s for the Mariners. This is instead a guy who's in the Topps Allen Ginter sets. And he was in there as one of the non-sports guys. He is a barbecue cook, owns a couple of restaurants down in the Southeast there. I think it serves Carolina barbecue, and it's a Whole Hog Barbecue is the name of his restaurant. It's what they specialize in as well. but I had 2 of his regular Allen Gitter cards and 2 of the minis, courtesy of my friend Chris. He said, hey, yeah, you want to send these out? I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll go for that. And so he sent back all 4 signed, 2 for me, 2 for Chris. So that worked out quite nicely. And like I said, we're going to open one live right here. This one, no postmark on it. The initials I put on are BS. And I think it's going to be a former Boston Bruins player that we're going to be seeing.
Bob Sweeney?
I think so. That is exactly who I'm thinking this is. Well,
that was pretty good. See, I can do the grid thing.
Yeah, exactly. See, there you go. And so we'll see if that's who this is. And yes, it is. This is Bob Sweeney that I got back. And he signed all 4 cards that I sent, including right there, 1 for the 88-89 set.
Oh,
so
those are nice. I really like those cards.
Yeah, I love that thumbtack design there on those ones. And so I think this officially puts me at 25% of the way done with this set. I'll have to make sure. I think I'm either at 25% or I'm 1 short of 25%. But yeah, hopefully that'll come pretty soon here, because I've got one more coming in later today into my mailbox, and I think it's going to be Ron Hextall. And if he signed both cards that I sent, then yeah, that'll put me up to that 25% mark, which is pretty good considering I just started on the set back in like March or thereabouts. So
how many people have we lost in the set? Do you know?
Not that many. I think there's maybe like 5 or 6. I can actually find it real quick here because I've got my Google Drive up. But I know, like, see here, Bob Probert's rookie card is in there. That's one of them that's going to be tough to get. Because I mean, number 1, he's dead. Number 2, he wasn't much of didn't sign a whole ton to begin with. And number 3, it's his rookie card. So I mean, that's fortunately, I think there's probably a few out there at least from people. But let's see here. I can pull up my want list. So I can tell you, I've got I mark on my want list everybody that has passed away, just so I know, and go accidentally trying to go TTMing them or something like that. But let me see here if this will load.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do some hockey this week. I didn't do anything this past week, so I think I'm going to do a hockey run this week.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. So yeah, the ones who have died so far: Peter Klima, who recently
died. Yeah, he just passed.
Dale Howarchuk, who died in 2020. Sean Bird died in 2013. Clark Gillies in 2022.
Yep.
Ilkka Sinisalo in 2017.
He might be a tough one.
Yeah, he could be.
I bet there's a lot of Clark Gillies out there.
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of Gillies, I'm sure. Peter Zezel died in 2009. There's got to be a lot of him out there, though, I think. Walt Podubny in 2009. Brad McCrimmon in 2011.
Yeah.
And Bob Prober.
I bet there's a lot of Brad McCrimmon. I think he was a pretty good signer.
He was a great signer. I got him in person once, and he would sit there and like comment on each of the photos of his cards, like, oh yeah, it's one of my favorite photos right there. And yeah, I love the old sweaters on that one. And yeah, so 9 players out of 198 in there, 198 cards, 196 players, 9 of them are dead. So it's doable. It's not like I've got anybody who, died like the year after the card came out or anything like that.
Did you did you send out all your international ones that you were working on? You're going to do Korea and if Julio Franco, if you get those all out?
Yeah, those are all out in the mail. So hopefully those are going to be on their way to Asia, down to Mexico, and hopefully have a few of those start rolling back here in maybe a month or so.
Yeah, I've got a Gilbert Perreault card that I put aside that I got to get out. I got to go get some. I got to buy some Canadian stamps. I'm a little behind on my Canadian stamps, but I think I'll do that and I want to get some hockey out this week.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Good returns. Very good week returns. So thank you guys. Guys, I think we're ready to put a bow on this and wrap it up. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I think so.
And this is how it ends.
Boy, we had a lot this week. We had a lot to talk about. And I think when I was looking at the outline, I was like, geez, we had a lot going on. A very busy week. First, I want to thank Ryan Sever for joining us. He wrote a book. It's a great book. It is called Cardboard Profit, and it gives you kind of a guide to how to make money selling cards. It's a really interesting book. It's a good book to read. It's a good resource. So we're going to give away a copy of his book. So send me your name and your mailing address, guys. Don't forget the mailing address, please. I hate to come back to you and say how you won, but I don't have your mailing address. So send me your name and your mailing address. We will pick that winner next week, next Saturday. So if you want to win, just put Sever or book or something like that in the subject line, your name and your mailing address, and send it to us at TTMcast@yahoo.com. My friend Les Wolff, thank you very much, Les Wolff, for joining us this week and doing some appraisals. Les has been a great addition to the show. I love talking to Les. We will see Les at the National. I'll probably spend a little time in Les's booth. It's always fun to watch him in action, Drew.
It absolutely is. And even just like the interviews there, my friend Mark, who I've been trying to get to do an interview for the show there, he messaged me the other day and says, man, hearing Les, it's like listening to classic Don Cherry on Coach's Corner. I'm like, yes, he is the collectibles world's version of like Don Cherry with stuff. I mean, knowledge, opinions, and just the ability to just go on about anything.
He's been doing it for 60 years, Drew. So there's not much stuff that has got by him. You know what I mean? And he's seen it all. And what I love about Les, honestly, is he stands behind everything he sells. He's very honest in terms of, you don't have to worry about buying crap from him. You know what I mean? If you buy an autograph from him, you know it's going to be real.
Right. He's not the used car seller type dealer out there. For sure.
And he loves the hobby. He loves what we're doing. And he does it to make money, but he's first a collector and then a dealer, if you know what I mean. I think he would do it for free if he could. He was basically sells the autographs so we can build up his personal collection. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he's a great guy, and I'm glad that he came to us, and I think he's a great addition to the show. And I hope you guys enjoy all the time we have with Les, because I feel blessed to talk to him. On Wednesday's show, we had Derek Grady from Heritage Auction. So make sure you go back and listen to TTMcast 1-on-1. We had Derek Grady on Wednesday show. This Wednesday show, we're going to have Ted Mann, who is the founder and president of Collects. And we're going to talk to him about his new marketplace, and make sure you guys get that $10 coupon. I don't know much longer he's gonna let it go. You know what I mean? He's just handing out $10 bills on the street, guys. That's what he's doing. So make sure you sign up for the Collects coupon, $10, and we'll talk to Ted about the new marketplace. On Saturday, we're going to have Scott Hunter, who played quarterback from our number teams, including the Green Bay Packers. He was at Alabama. He played for Bear Bryant. So we're going to talk to Scott about his time in college football and the pros. And Greg Bates, who is from Green Bay as well. And he talks about, we talk about the Green Bay Packers, and he writes all sorts of cool hobby articles for Sports Collectors Digest, as well as he's a freelance writer. So we're going to talk to Greg Bates about the National and all sorts of other cool stuff. So that will be next Saturday. We got a lot of stuff. And Drew, I think I've interviewed 4 or 5 former NFL players in the past week. So we got a lot of former NFL players that we're going to be talking with. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, I think we wrapped this one up pretty well. I mean, we had a couple of calmer, slower shows here the previous 2 weeks, but we got the National 2 weeks away. So, I mean, we're starting to ramp up. We had the calm before the storm, and right now it's like, all right, welcome to the jungle, kids. Here we go.
Yeah, a lot going on. Well, guys, I want to wish everyone many happy returns. We will see you on Wednesday. Be good. Stay safe.